Chapter 658. Eternal Nirvana. The last to make a move was naturally Yamateon. He used the ancestral sacred fist, also known as the last move of the world-shaking 3 moves, Eternal Nirvana. This move was like a bright moon in the sky, blotting out the light of the stars. Everything disappeared, leaving only Yamateon's fist. This punch was heaven and earth everything. A blurry god appeared behind him, shrouded in mist and clouds, but supreme and noble. It was the only true God, the supreme ruler, the God above all other forms of life. If the God's creation was creation, then eternal nirvana was complete destruction. It was similar to the dusk of the gods created by the Holy King of Termination. It had existed for thousands of years. This punch pierced through the past and the present, looking down on everything. Eternal life was everlasting. All time and space were eternal. Nirvana was nirvana. It was rebirth. It was like a phoenix bathing in fire. This move was no less powerful than the previous world creation of the gods. Before the fist even landed, a massive black hole with a circumference of over 100,000 kilometers had completely taken shape. 3 people, 3 moves. A half-step heavenly lord, the supreme technique of the god race. All out. This was a scene rarely seen even in the immortal world, let alone the 3,000 great worlds. This was the result of a lion using its full strength to hunt a rabbit, and Feng Qingshan's formation had brought them great danger. Alas, it was useless. The 3 heavenly lords were indeed powerful, but they were in the right place. They should never have chosen the Xianhuang Great World to fight Feng Qingshan. If the sun and moon void hadn't been remodeled, or if this wasn't the Xianhuang Great World but another great world, Feng Qingshan would have had to use the timeless arc to win beautifully against the 3 of them. Alas, that was fate. The sun and moon void had been successfully remodeled using the 2 diagrams of the 10 terminal formation. It should be noted that even the 12 golden immortals, the weakest of whom was a primordial immortal, which was equivalent to a heavenly lord, did not dare to go against the god-sealing array. They had to sacrifice someone before they could break it. Moreover, how could the frigid ice flame array at that time be compared to the array diagram that was integrated into the sun and moon void now? Especially now that the great calamity was upon them, and they had the support of the world's origin will. From the very beginning, the divine race was doomed to a tragedy. A golden crow and a jade rabbit, the sun and moon in the sky, ice and fire intertwined, yin and yang in harmony. Bang! The divine light clashed with the 3 attacks of the god race heaven lord. An earth-shattering sound erupted. It was as if countless giant dragons were roaring. As the aftershocks dissipated, the entire Xuanhuan Great World seemed to be in a mess. It was as if the stars had shifted and dragons and snakes had risen from the land. It was as if doomsday had arrived. The celestial race's side wasn't any better. The celestial race warriors that were attacking were all sent flying. Their bodies were torn apart, and their laws began to become chaotic. Heaven and earth darkened, and everyone's ears rang. All light was devoured, and nothing could be seen or heard. Before anyone could react, 3 screams rang out, like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. Everyone used all kinds of means and looked in the direction of the sound. They saw that whether it was the divine fist of calamity, the creation of the gods, or the ancestral sacred fist, all the attacks had been destroyed. The remaining power of the array's attack fell on the 3 of them. The 3 of them suddenly suffered unprecedented damage. They were originally half-step lords of heaven, but they were almost knocked down. Most of the countless profound laws within his body were broken, and his body, which had been tempered countless times and was comparable to an immortal artifact, became as weak as a piece of porcelain. Ghastly cracks spread across his body, seemingly on the verge of breaking apart at any moment. This was after the 3 of them had taken out their defensive fairy artifacts to resist the attack. Otherwise, they would not have been seriously injured but dead. Even so, they were not much better off. Their fairy artifacts broke into pieces and shot out in all directions. The 3 of them were also on the verge of death. Impossible. Yamatian and the other two screamed on the spot. Their faces were full of disbelief. This was simply unacceptable to them. It was not just them who could not accept it. Except for Fang Qingshan and a few others, no one else could accept it. Even the people on his side looked at all this in a daze, as if they were in a dream. What was this? A celestial lord, a half-step celestial resident, not a celestial immortal, not a divine immortal, not a Shin immortal, not a golden immortal, but a half-step lord of heaven. A golden immortal could be a giant in the celestial realm, and a lord of heaven was the real ruler of the world. But now, seeing the miserable state of Yema Tian and the other two, everyone thought they had met three liars. How is this possible? Everyone was screaming in their hearts. How could Fang Qingshan have such strength? They had thought that, even if he was not defeated, he would at least have borrowed the mighty power of the mysterious timeless Arkansas. They did not expect that the Sun and Moon Void was not only amazing in defense, but also in attack. It was shocking. After a long time of shock, some people finally began to recover. The people of the black-yellow Great World and those on Fang Qingshan's side were naturally singing wildly, as if they had gone mad and were overjoyed. The people of the celestial race and the people of the other great worlds at this moment felt a deep malice and despair. They were hesitating, in disbelief, in awe. Fang Qingshan was not affected in the slightest. Wasn't this result already within his expectations? However, he could not attack now. It was not that he did not want to, but that he could not. Don't look at how awe-inspiring he was just now, beating the three half-step heaven monarchs like dead dogs. But it was overloaded and needed a break. Why was the Sun and Moon Void focused on defense and not offense? It was because it was not something that ordinary people could activate. The reason why Fang Qingshan could activate it and cause such great power was because he was the owner of the two array diagrams. First, he was the owner of the two array diagrams and had personally set up and modified the array. Second, during the Great Calamity, the origin will of the world was supporting and pushing it forward. Moreover, his own cultivation level was not below that of a heaven lord. With all of these factors combined, Fang Qingshan was able to turn the tide and prop up the great edifice. The people who came later would probably never be able to recreate Fang Qingshan's might. However, Fang Qingshan could not attack for now. There was still Mosquito Dowrin and the World Tree clone. They did not hesitate, especially when they were competitors. However, the two of them were faster than the other. With lightning speed, one used his roots to drag, while the other directly pounced forward. And then, an even more horrifying scene appeared. The three heaven lords didn't even have time to scream before they were gone. Yes, they were all gone. His body, soul, and nomological laws had all been devoured by the World Tree clone and the Mosquito Taoist. Chapter 659. Let's go. This person is already invincible. With our strength, we are no match for him. If we don't leave now, we really won't be able to leave. Seeing the three great heavenly masters die without their corpses intact. No, there were no corpses at all. Everyone from the Shun clan broke down, including the so-called think tank heavenly concubine Wu Mo. Although the heavenly concubine had comprehended the path of sage ruler, she was not a sage ruler. Otherwise, she would not have needed to ask other experts to help her. She would have taken care of everything herself. After all, the treasure of good fortune was an unavoidable temptation for everyone. Fortunately, she had asked someone to help her. Otherwise, she would have followed in the footsteps of death. At this moment, apart from fear, everyone had only one thought in their minds. Escape. Escape far away. Escape back to the faux god realm. However, everyone from the Shun clan used all their strength to turn around and use the greater teleportation technique. They used all kinds of escape techniques to move through countless space-times, rushing towards the portal. The Xinhuang Great World, the Five Elements sect, is not a place where you can come and go as you please. Do you think this is your backyard? If I don't teach you a lesson today, you will think that I, Fang Qingshan, am easy to bully. Fang Qingshan snorted coldly. Previously, when they saw that the Xinhuang Great World was weak, they wanted to invade it. Now, when they saw that they could not afford to offend them, they turned around and wanted to escape. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Moreover, even if they did not mention this, the billions of Shun clan members were the best raw materials for Fang Qingshan's 2 clones to increase their cultivation. If they missed this opportunity, who knew if they would have another one? After all, although Fang Qingshan needed a huge amount of resources to support himself, his clones, and his treasures, he still had a bottom line in his heart. He could not be like a demon, treating all living beings as ants and performing blood sacrifices from time to time just to cultivate. Although he did not reject mosquito, Dauran devouring flesh and blood, he rarely allowed it to devour humans. Basically, it only devoured foreign races, and they were all hostile foreign races. He drank a drop of triple light, sacred water to recover. Fang Qingshan drew with his hand, and the condensed laws that were like dragons emerged from his body, linking up and going back and forth, forming a ring. Seal characters were engraved on it, strung up and down like beads, depicting the mountains and rivers, the beautiful sun and moon, and the multicolored light was extraordinary, causing one to forget the secular world upon seeing it. The top-notch Khanate numinous treasure, the 5 elements bead, was mounted on it. As the mysterious sound rang out, heavenly might descended and 5-colored light swept through the universe. 5 elements bracelet. In an instant, it turned into a huge halo that enveloped the surroundings. Boundless divine light shot out and swept towards all the members of the god race. Anyone who was shrouded by the halo or swept by the divine light, except for a few gods with profound cultivation or special means or treasures, basically no one was spared. Every time the halo spun, a divine light flashed, and a large number of celestial warriors were devoured. They were suppressed in the innate small world like dumplings. The speed was unbelievably fast. As for those who escaped the range of the 5 elements bracelet, they could not be happy because there was still the world tree and mosquito Dauran attacking. The faster those who ran and the higher their cultivation, the more likely they would face the thunderous attacks of the world tree and mosquito Dauran. This was because one of them could match up to thousands of ordinary celestial warriors. It was a complete suppression in terms of quality. These were all existences that the 2 avatars coveted. How could they let the ducks that were already in their mouths fly away? In an instant, except for a few people, almost all the celestial warriors who came to attack the black-yellow great world this time were annihilated. This made Fang Qingshan gain a lot. Although it was not as precious as the resources and treasures obtained from the Godfiend battlefield, it was more than enough to increase the cultivation of mosquito Dauran and Yishuan. The main thing was that Fang Qingshan had either left the good things obtained from the Godfiend battlefield in High Firmament City, fused them with the Timeless Ark, or saved them up as a trump card that he had yet to use. He did not use much of them on Mosquito Dauran. The main thing was that Fang Qingshan felt that it was a waste to give those good things to Mosquito Dauran to devour. This time, the Celestial Race's invasion was just like the Eternal Night Race's attack in the Godfiend battlefield, but it was a feast for Mosquito Dauran. In particular, this celestial army was not only the same as the Eternal Night Race's attack, but more importantly, it was of high quality. Just the 3 heavenly masters were enough to make up for everything else. Of course, while taking care of the celestial race, Fang Qingshan did not let go of the factions and individuals that had tried to take advantage of the black-yellow great world and the 5 elements sect. In particular, he did not show any mercy to those who had tried to invade the Sun-Moon Void. These people had fled when they saw that the celestial race had 3 heavenly masters. However, they inevitably had some wishful thinking in their hearts, thinking that when the sandpiper and the clam fought, the fishermen would benefit. After all, although the heavenly masters were powerful, the timeless ark that Fang Qingshan had summoned last time was not easy to deal with. Unfortunately, what happened next was too unexpected for them. Fang Qingshan did not summon the timeless ark at all. He directly used the Sun-Moon Void's array to destroy 3 half-step heavenly lords. Just thinking about it made everyone's scalp tingle and their bodies go soft, especially those who had attacked the Sun-Moon Void. When they saw the power of Fang Qingshan's array, they were scared out of their wits. They did not expect that Fang Qingshan would still remember them after they had fled. He stared at them and began to settle accounts. At this moment, everyone's intestines were green with regret. If they had known that this would be a nightmare, they would not have fantasized and tried to fish in troubled waters. Now, they did not get anything. Not only did they suffer a double loss, but they also lost their lives. At this moment, they were only begging for mercy in despair and did not rely on the backing behind them to clamor. Because Fang Qingshan had even taken care of the half-step heavenly lords, their backing was at most a heavenly lord. Moreover, Fang Qingshan had destroyed the clone of the heavenly lord of disaster last time. Hence, it was completely useless to look for a backing. If a backing was useless, would begging for mercy be useful? The answer was no. Accepting an insincere apology and begging for mercy was equivalent to helping a tyrant. Fang Qingshan had always believed in repaying kindness and enmity quickly, settling grievances and enmity with vengeance. However, this time, Fang Qingshan did not let mosquito Daoran devour them. After all, they were all humans, and there was no deep hatred between them. Hence, killing them was just a matter of nodding their heads to the ground. The reason why Fang Qingshan took revenge was not only because he could reap kindness and enmity, but also because he could reap providence and resources. Speaking of providence and resources, after Fang Qingshan completely suppressed the Divine Clan, the black-yellow Great World's Providence Sword. At the same time, the legendary 7 prefectures, 3 treasuries, 1 hidden treasury, and other treasuries began to emerge one by one. Clang, clang, clang. But there was the sound of horses galloping, the wind was blowing, the clouds were flying, and the war flags were fluttering. Chapter 660. The bugle sounded, the war drums beat, the banners covered the sky, and the chi swallowed thousands of miles, sweeping the world, including the universe, including the 4 seas, and swallowing the 8 wastelands. Rays of iron-blooded light shot out. An iron-blooded battle, killing, flame, and many other airflows, like the ancient way of iron-blooded, came to the world. This was the first appearance of the Iron Blood Immortal Mansion of the 7 Immortal Mansions. In the black-yellow Great World, apart from the Taiyuan Immortal Abode that Fang Qingshan had once visited, there were the Pajuan Immortal Abode, Bodhi Immortal Abode, Duluo Immortal Abode, Red Cloud Immortal Abode, Iron Blood Immortal Abode, and Sage Immortal Abode. The first to appear was naturally the Iron Blood Immortal Mansion. This treasure house was a treasure left by the ancient Iron Blood sect. The ancient Iron Blood sect was also a famous sect in the past. Even if it was not as powerful as the Greater One sect, it was not far from it. Unfortunately, the wind was always blown away by the rain. Despite its prestige, it was inevitable that it would suffer in the end. If it were not for the existence of this treasure house, I am afraid that the name of the Iron Blood sect would have been lost in the long river of history, like other sections. Not to mention this for the time being, the Iron Blood Immortal Mansion alone was enough to shock the people of Eternal World. The reason for that was because the Great Iron Blood Formation was made up of hundreds of thousands of upper Grey Dao weapons and 7 Iron Blood War flags, which were superior Grey Dao weapons. The scale of the formation was even greater than the Tianwu treasury that Fang Qingshan had obtained in the past. After all, although the spirit treasures in that layer of the treasure house were also 1 yuan in number, not to mention the quantity, the quality was even worse. Most of the spirit treasures there were low grade, and the highest was half peerless, while the lowest was high grade, and the strongest was peerless, not much worse than the destruction of the Greater One sect's Doomsday flag. This was only the periphery of the Iron Blood Immortal Mansion, and the treasures inside were probably even worse. Haha, this is mine. Seeing this immortal mansion, Mosquito Daoran couldn't wait to pounce on it. It was not only because these resources could provide him with a lot of origin energy to raise his cultivation, but also because this was the treasury of the Iron Blood sect, which contained the laws of Iron Blood. Mosquito Daoran's cultivation base did not need to comprehend any laws or level. As long as he had enough resources, he could continue to soar. However, this was only a realm. This was only an increase in cultivation. It did not mean that Mosquito Dowrin could not comprehend the laws. He was born in a sea of blood, and his mouth could devour all things. He was innately compatible with the laws of blood, slaughter, devouring, and so on. This law of iron and blood was perfect for Mosquito Dowrin. That was why he couldn't wait to pounce forward. As for the array protecting the iron blood immortal abode, the iron blood formation was not a top formation like the 10 terminal formations or the 9 bends Yellow River formation. How could it stop Mosquito Dowrin? However, Mosquito Doran's body trembled, and his infinite clone flew out, pouncing directly on the iron bloodlight shield of the immortal abode. In less than an hour, the entire array collapsed, and the hundreds of thousands of iron blood war flags that were set up were all devoured by Mosquito Dowrin. After breaking through the defense and entering the iron blood immortal abode, he saw that it was empty. Other than the iron blood chi, there were no other pills or Dharma treasures. However, at the core, there was a huge flag that was much more powerful than the destructive Doomsday War flag, and was not inferior to the Eternal Divine Furnace. This was an immortal artifact, the Iron Blood War flag. The flag fluttered in the air, covering all directions and swallowing the universe. There were 4 people under the Iron Blood War flag, and all of them were dried corpses. They were all from the Iron Blood sect, and all of them had the cultivation of a Xian Immortal. One of them was even a half-step Golden Immortal, but unfortunately, he failed to break through to Golden Immortal and died. The Mosquito Taoist did not care about all of this. He opened his mouth and sucked in all of the iron blood chi. Then he pounced forward. He was going to use the same trick again. He was going to directly devour the celestial artifact, as well as the essence power within the dried corpses. Fortunately, no one saw this scene, or they would probably cry to the heavens and the earth, or even spit out blood. There was no need to talk about the immortal artifact. In the lower realm, any sect, dynasty, or force that had an immortal artifact could not only unify a world, but it would also be unchanging for generations. Back then, the Greater One sect could dominate the bound of universe because of the eternal divine furnace. Didn't the limitless star palace unify the boundless world because of the picture of the universe? Even those few Xian immortal corpses, although they were dead, their eyes still contained the changes of the stars, the sun, and the moon. Their bodies emitted a strong and mysterious aura, which was the best material for refining immortal artifacts. Just after Mosquito Dowrin devoured the iron blood immortal abode, another immortal abode was born. The treasured flames shone brightly, and the fragrance became more exquisite. The 1,000-story golden pavilion was infinitely beautiful, and a celestial sound entered the ears. The multicolored light and auspicious chi enveloped thousands of layers, and the colorful mist and auspicious clouds covered tens of thousands of paths. There was the Heavenly King Hall, the Lawkeeper Hall, the Slaughter Pagoda, and other buildings. Bodhisattva, Vajra, Aluka, Didi, Deyo, and Garan were all chanting scriptures. For a moment, the sound of Sanskrit was heard, and the fragrance was strong. Bodhi, Golden Lotus, 8 treasure pool. Meru tree, Divine Pestle, 7 treasure tree. Those who did not know would think that it was the whirling pure land, or the pure land of ultimate bliss. It turned out that one of the 7 abodes, the Bodhi immortal abode, had appeared. Come here. When Fong Qingshan saw the Bodhi immortal abode appear, he directly opened his hand and grabbed at the immortal abode. The next moment, a huge hand that covered the sky emitted a vast light, like a star, illuminating the starry sky for billions of miles. Mixed elements, 5 elements, chi grand grappling hand. As soon as this hand appeared and grabbed, time and space condensed, and the entire Bodhi immortal abode fell into darkness. The next moment, the stars flowed, the sun and moon rotated, and with a rumble, the entire Bodhi immortal abode was uprooted by Fong Qingshan, picking the stars and grabbing the moon. If this scene happened before the great tribulation of the celestial race, it would definitely cause everyone to exclaim. But now, seeing this scene, everyone was already used to it. Even a half-step heavenly lord could be suppressed. It would be strange if a mere star and moon-grabbing divine power could not be used. Before Fang Qingshan could completely take down the Bodhi immortal abode, the remaining immortal abodes also appeared one after another. First was the Army Destroyer immortal abode. As soon as this immortal abode appeared, it emitted a terrifying murderous aura like cold starlight, murderous and lifeless. Fang Qingshan seemed to see a vast ancient star, carrying the Army Destroyer aura of heaven and earth, descending from a distant time and space. Then came the Taiyuan immortal abode. The three doors formed a triangular shape, squeezing through the void and rushing straight into the sky. With a boundless immortal light, countless immortal Tao laws and endless immortal Tao notes sounded. It emitted a mysterious aura, the door of profundity, and it seemed to exist continuously, not being used frequently. There were 3 immortal artifacts, and they were all at the limit of inferior-grade immortal artifacts, far above the Iron Blood War flag and the Eternal Divine Furnace. As soon as it appeared, it wanted to ascend. Fang Han, you are fated with this immortal abode. Why aren't you going to collect it? Although Fang Qingshan wanted to monopolize all the treasures, this did not mean that he wanted to monopolize it. He just did not want the fertile water to flow to others. Chapter 661. Thank you, third young master. Fang Han's eyes lit up when he heard this. Although his cultivation was not bad, it was still not enough to subdue 3-peak lower-grade celestial weapons. Therefore, he asked Venerable Ling Long, Feng Baiyu, and the Emperor Brush to help him. Following that, Duluo Immortal Abode, Red Cloud Immortal Abode, and Saint Immortal Abode rose at the same time. As soon as the remaining 3 immortal abodes emerged, the World Tree Avatar took the lead in dealing with Duluo Immortal Abode. Following that, Fang Qingshan and Mosquito Daoran also made their moves. Each of them suppressed Red Cloud Immortal Abode and Saint Immortal Abode. For a time, Red Cloud, Taiyuan, Pejuan, Bodhi, Saint Duluo, and Iron Blood Immortal Abode all emerged and fell into the hands of Fang Qingshan and the others. There were more than 7 immortal weapons. Unfortunately, many of the treasures that fell into Fang Qingshan's hands were like pearls cast before swine. Not to mention inferior-grade immortal weapons. Even middle-grade, upper-grade, and even peerless-grade immortal weapons might not be able to catch his eyes. In the end, they were given to Mosquito Daoran to devour to increase his cultivation. Fortunately, others did not know about this. Otherwise, he would have become the public enemy of the world. One should know that in the immortal world, even many Xian immortals didn't have a suitable immortal weapon. However, Fang Qingshan actually used an immortal weapon as a pill or spirit stone to increase his cultivation. How could others not be envious? Rumble. It was a loud noise. Before everyone could recover from the shock of the 7 immortal abodes, a loud sound came from the depths of space-time, waking everyone up. Looking towards the source of the sound, an ancient universe emerged from the space-time gap. The waning moon hangs on the sparse trees, and the leak breaks the silence of the people. Who sees a person coming and going alone in the shadow of a lonely swan? Startled but turned back, and the hatred is unbearable. Picking up all the cold branches and refusing to perch, and the lonely sandbar is cold. In an instant, an unfathomable, ethereal, free, and cold aura swept in all directions. Miss Mi Bao was the first to scream when she saw this world. The Misty Storehouse. The reason why she was able to confirm it so quickly was naturally because she had the Misty token that allowed her to enter the Misty Storehouse. On that day, when Fang Qingshan returned from the great world of gods, he happened to catch up with her and Fang Han. They were about to go to the Misty Storehouse to get the treasure, but they didn't expect to fall into the trap of the god race. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan helped them. Otherwise, although their lives weren't in danger, it was inevitable that they would be seriously injured. Afterward, Mi Bao directly returned to the treasure-snatching rock after being rescued. It was unknown whether it was because he had become courageous after being humiliated, or because he knew that the Shun clan had set up an ambush, or because he did not want Fang Qingshan to interfere. Hearing that everyone in the Misty Vault was excited, even Fang Qingshan couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. After all, the Misty Storehouse was one of the 7 manors, 3 storehouses, and 1 secret storehouse. It could be considered the most precious place. There were only some immortal weapons in the 7 mansions, and the most powerful ones were the 3 gates of Xianpin in the Tai Yuan Immortal Abode, which had reached the peak of the low grade. Tianwu Treasury was the most unworthy of its name. It was even worse than the 7 mansions, and did not even have a single immortal weapon. Of course, this was only true for others. For Fang Qingshan, the key of Desolate God, refined from the fragment of the World Tree, was much more precious than an immortal weapon. He wouldn't even exchange it for an upper-grade immortal weapon, let alone a low-grade one. The rest of the Yellow Spring Treasury was left behind by the Emperor of the Yellow Spring. Although he had merged with Taoist reincarnation's power when he ascended and had the cultivation of a Lord of Heaven, he was directly killed by the 33 Heaven's supreme treasure. The best treasures left behind were just some of Taoist reincarnation's treasures. The Misty Storehouse and the Hongmeng treasure were very different, because they were treasures left behind by 2 immortal kings. Immortal kings, moreover, they were people on the immortal king list of the immortal world. They were existences at the primordial unity realm and were very close to breaking through to the zenith heaven realm. Naturally, Fang Qingshan coveted the treasures left behind by such experts. Even if the Misty Storehouse wasn't the true legacy of the Misty Immortal, with his cultivation base, a single strand of hair was thicker than his waist. Taking 10,000 steps back, it would at least not be weaker than the 7 prefectures. Fang Qingshan and Mosquito Dowren took a step forward and entered the space-time of the treasury. The void turned upside down, and in the next moment, they entered a mysterious world. It was ancient and desolate, as if they had returned to the ancient desolation era. Good fella, as expected of an immortal venerable. His wealth is extraordinary. Mosquito Dowren looked around, and his eyes instantly lit up, and he sighed with emotion. Numerous stars hung high in the lonely sky. However, they were not stars at all. They were clearly immortal artifacts. Moreover, they were not low-grade artifacts like the Iron Blood War flag. Even the door of Xianpin paled in comparison to them, because these immortal weapons were all upper-grade immortal weapons. Who dares to break into the Misty Storehouse? Just as Fang Qingshan and Mosquito Dowren looked around, the immortal weapons naturally discovered their presence, and the weapon spirits immediately roared. Weapon spirits were also living beings. Legend had it that there was a treasure realm where all the weapon spirits were successful in cultivation. These weapon spirits were the weapon spirits of upper-grade immortal weapons, so they were naturally extraordinary. They had lived here since ancient times, and for tens of thousands of years, they had long since regarded this place as their home. They regarded everything here as their exclusive territory. In their eyes, Fang Qingshan and Mosquito Dowren were obviously robbers who broke into their home. If you leave now, we can let bygones be bygones. Naive. Fang Qingshan shook his head. This was the disadvantage of treasures with weapon spirits. They were too independent. Fang Qingshan did not care about this at all. In the end, they would inevitably fall into Mosquito Dowren's mouth. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and they would contribute to Mosquito Dowren's cultivation. Damn, it killed him. Seeing that Fang Qingshan and Mosquito Dowren were stubborn, coupled with a vague sense of danger, all the weapon spirits of the immortal weapons attacked at the same time. There was an immortal sword in the sky, withering like the desolate autumn and winter. The falling leaves extracted all vitality, and it could cause the world to decay. There was a tyrant saber slashing down, splitting the heavens and earth, sweeping in all directions like an emperor, encompassing the universe, encompassing the 4 seas, and devouring the 8 desolates. There was a divine furnace in the sky, with the sun and moon shining high. Fire and ice, yin and yang, creation as the work, and yin and yang as the charcoal, the great furnace of heaven and earth. Good heavens, so many ancient upper-grade immortal weapons attacked at the same time. Although they could not compare to the three heavenly masters, it was still not something an ordinary person could withstand. Even a golden immortal would be crushed in the face of this attack. Unfortunately, they encountered Feng Qingshan and Mosquito Dowrin. They threw the mystic essence water control flag above their heads and then pounced on the immortal weapons. In less than an hour, their bodies and weapon spirits had all disappeared. Mosquito Dowrin used this opportunity to advance his cultivation, reaching the peak of the perfected immortal level. He was almost past the Xian immortal level and caught up with the Tree of World. Of course, Mosquito Dowrin's cultivation had improved so much because he had devoured billions of celestial beings and half-step heavenly lords. Chapter 662. Good. As expected of one of the three vaults. Impressive. Let's continue to search. There must be more than these high-grade immortal artifacts. After when Daoist finished swallowing, he said with a longing for more. Feng Qingshan nodded. The two of them immediately split up to search for other treasures. For a moment, the entire ethereal vault was like the ancient Haven Palace in the Great Dominator's world. 1 meter higher sky. Compared to other immortal mansions and vaults, the ethereal vault was indeed very generous. This was because the entire ethereal vault was actually a minor kiliocosm. One side of the world, a vast territory. After tens of thousands of years of evolution, it had many marvelous features and was somewhat similar to the Great Kiliocosm. Along the way, Feng Qingshan and Mosquito Dowrin had the thought of not missing out again. Anything of value was taken away by them. There were all kinds of immortal artifacts, Dao artifacts, spiritual pills, immortal pills. There were also all kinds of exotic flowers, rare herbs, and treasure trees. There were all kinds of gems, ores, iron, and divine wood. In fact, Feng Qingshan even tore down all sorts of buildings. Fortunately, he and Wen Daoists were used to doing this kind of thing and had sufficient cultivation. Otherwise, if they asked other people to come, they would probably spend a lot of time just to empty the treasury. What about Feng Qingshan and Mosquito Dowrin? After spending half a day, the prosperous minor kiliocosm was almost unrecognizable by them. It was like the end of the world. Mosquito Dowrin used all his clones. As long as it could be devoured, he wouldn't let it go. Feng Qingshan used the 5 elements bracelets to devour everything. As long as he looked at it, he would scrape the ground. If Zhuani saw their behavior, he would probably sigh at his inferiority. They might even use this opportunity to discuss each other's experiences. They might even take him as a disciple. After Feng Qingshan and Mosquito Dowrin finished looting most of the treasury, they finally arrived at the core of the Misty Treasury. When they saw 3 of the treasures, Feng Qingshan and Mosquito Dowrin's breathing quickened. Even though these things couldn't compare to the Grand Mist Violet aura, they were still rare treasures. One of the treasures was a word. Even though it was only a single word, it was large like a mountain, ancient and boundless, and contained a deep aura of the Tao. These were the ancient characters that were spat out by the gate of eternal life. They contained terrifying divine might and were extremely useful even to immortal kings. Although immortal Piao Miao obtained the ancient character, he didn't refine it himself. Instead, he placed it in the Misty storehouse. The reason for this was that he had already comprehended the treasure, and the ancient character didn't match his Tao. Although this ancient character was not compatible with senior ethereal immortal, it was very suitable for Feng Qingshan. This was because this ancient character was called Mountain. The Gate of Eternal Life spat out many ancient characters. Among them, the Tao was supreme and was the head of all characters. It could restrain and control tens of thousands of characters. Below it were the 6 runes talisman, the 33 runes talisman, the 9 runes talisman, the 5 elements talisman, and so on. If he could gather the 5 elements talisman, it would be even more powerful than the 6 runes talisman and the 9 runes talisman. Although this mountain character didn't come from the 5 elements talisman, It was inextricably linked to the earth character in the five elements. This item was even more precious to Feng Qingshan, who cultivated the five elements Tao. It was no less valuable than the primordial earth pearl. Seeing this item, Feng Qingshan couldn't wait to extend his hand. He spread his fingers and performed the mixed five elements Great Qi Na hand, directly grabbing towards the earth character. This ancient character contained endless laws of the Great Path. Although it wasn't the earth character, he could still improve his understanding of the laws of the earth attribute after refining it. Moreover, due to the mutual promotion and restraint between the two attributes, he could also indirectly improve his understanding of the other four attributes. However, this ancient character was very powerful. If he wanted to refine it, it wouldn't be something that could be done overnight. After all, a kill character from the gate of eternal life could successfully reach the Lord of Heaven level. Even collecting it was a problem. This was because this ancient character was born with the charm of the Great Path. It couldn't be stored in the Sumeru space at all. Fortunately, this was for others. It didn't work on Feng Qingshan. This was because his body not only had the Earth Pearl, which was of a higher grade than the mountain character, but also the carrier of the Great Path, the Hong Meng Immortal Qi. Feng Qingshan only released a little bit of his aura. This mountain character didn't need Feng Qingshan to refine it all. It went into Feng Qingshan's Niwen Palace by itself. He originally wanted to run to the Hong Meng Immortal Qi, but there were too many monks and not enough meat. It had long been occupied by Feng Qingshan's other treasures. There was no place for him. In the end, the mountain character had to settle next to the Earth Pearl. Apart from this ancient character, the other two treasures couldn't be underestimated. One of them was a big square seal called the Overflowing Sea. It was a Supreme Grey Doctrine artifact. It wasn't an ordinary Supreme Grey Doctrine artifact, but a Supreme Grey Doctrine artifact that was half a step away from King Grade. It should be known that the lost sword and the spear of vengeance that Feng Qingshan had encountered were only King Grade fairy artifacts. A Saint Grade fairy artifact was comparable to a Lord of Heaven. This showed how precious it was. As for the last one, it was even more tempting to Feng Qingshan than the first mountain character. It was a piece of crystal clear, green, and jade-like object. But its real identity was a piece of the tree heart of the Tree of World. When a plant became a demon, it would give birth to the heart of vegetation. Once its cultivation reached a certain level, it could use the heart of vegetation as a support and finally take shape. It would leave its body and get rid of the congenital shackles of being a plant. From then on, it would be able to come and go as it pleased and wouldn't have to worry about being unable to move. This was the most important thing after a plant became a demon. It was a treasure that was comparable to its life. Seeing this object, the clone of the Tree of World was so excited that it was about to tremble. Although this piece of heart of vegetation was small, it was the real essence. In the eyes of the clone of the Tree of World, it was even more precious than the half of the Tree of World that Feng Qingshan had exchanged from the treasure vault of gods and demons. Back then, the ethereal immortal was in charge of the Tree of World. It was unknown whether he had already expected the fate of the Tree of World or something else, but he had cut off a piece of heart of vegetation in advance and left it for the fated person so that the Tree of World could make a comeback in the future. Sure enough, before the great calamity of the ancient god clan, the ethereal immortal had disappeared inexplicably, and the Tree of World had also been cut off by the ancestor of the god clan. As the saying went, a sentence of true inheritance and 1,000 books of false inheritance. This was the real core, which contained the core origin of the Tree of World. Naturally, it made the clone of the Tree of World more excited than those fragments. Without waiting for Feng Qingshan's instructions, the Tree of World only revealed its aura like before, and the piece of heart of vegetation automatically flew into the body of the clone of the Tree of World. After collecting all the treasures, Feng Qingshan and Mosquito Daoren left the treasure vault and turned around to collect the spirit space. Just as Feng Qingshan was about to continue collecting other treasures, something suddenly happened. Chapter 663. But in the boundless starry sky not far from the Xuanhuan Great World, a dazzling golden light suddenly burst out. Then, in the void, endless calamity and calamity chi gathered, and an aura that made all the worlds tremble spread in all directions. Experts from the immortal realm have arrived. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan smiled faintly. Interesting, interesting. I wonder if their target is the divine race or me. If it had been during the ancient times, the Xinhuang Great World would have had no problem withstanding the invasion of the celestial race. Because at that time, there was the World Tree, Hongmeng Taoist, Reincarnation Taoist, the Three Sovereigns, Panwu Immortal, and so on. But now, the divine race was an existence that could challenge the immortal realm. With the black-yellow Great World's current foundation, it could not resist such a large-scale attack from the Void God realm. Of course, this was under the circumstances that they did not know about Fang Qingshan. As for the Void God realm, the divine race's purpose in attacking the black-yellow Great World was to sacrifice it, summon the ancestral sacred king, and open the passage to the heaven realm, distort the laws, and leak vitality. As the saying went, defend against the enemy outside the country's gates. Under such circumstances, they naturally could not let the divine race achieve their goal. The immortal realm naturally needed to defend against them. However, this was only one of the objectives of the immortal realm. In the original trajectory, they would deal with the divine race to prevent them from achieving their goal, and deal with Fang Han and the others to eliminate the dissidents. Now, they had another objective, or rather, their target had changed. They had shifted their focus from Fang Han to Fang Qingshan. The divine race had sent 3 heavenly lords because of the timeless Arkansas. How could the immortal realm let go of such a great opportunity? In order to monopolize the timeless ark, the heavenly lord of calamity had even blocked all news of it. If he guessed correctly, the timeless ark was an existence comparable to the 33 heavens fortune creation treasure. If he obtained this treasure, he would have no problem unifying the heavenly court, even if he did not surpass the fortune creation immortal king. In the immortal realm, immortal kings were in hiding, and heavenly lords were in power. The heavenly court was controlled by a few ancient heavenly lords. As for their trump cards, they were nothing more than the damaged 33 heavens good fortune treasure. If the heavenly lord of calamity could obtain the timeless ark, he would immediately stand out and become the new ruler of the celestial world. If he could also study the timeless ark, then with his foundation, he might even be able to break through to the celestial king realm. When that happened, he would truly be able to jump out of the chessboard and become a true player. The myriad worlds were the chessboard, and the billions of living beings were the chess pieces, sitting and watching the wind and clouds. How could the heavenly monarch of calamity let go of such a great opportunity to transcend? So, not only did he seal off the news, he even sent his clone down to the lower realm. With the experience of facing the timeless ark, the heavenly lord of calamity hardened his heart and sent a heavenly master-level doppelganger. This was the strongest doppelganger he could send. As for sending his real body, he did not know if he could do it. Even if he could, he would not be able to. This was because the commotion would be too great. If his real body descended, it would definitely alarm the others. At that time, he would not be able to reap the benefits for himself. Unfortunately, success and failure were all because of Xiao He. In the end, he could only suffer the consequences of his own actions. Sealing off the news did indeed give him the upper hand, but it also prevented the news that Fang Qingshan had killed the 3 heavenly lords from spreading. If he knew this news, the heavenly lord of calamity would probably change his plan and not take the risk. As for now, he could only suffer a huge loss. Although the 3 heavenly lords of the celestial race could not compare to this doppelganger, they were probably not that far off. Even if they were powerful, their strength was limited. All of them had been defeated, and they had been defeated so miserably that they had even lost their lives. So how could he be any better? Under everyone's gazes, a figure gradually materialized in the void. He looked very young, but he also had an ancient aura, making it impossible to estimate his age. His entire body surged with the terrifying aura of disaster, as if he were the source of disaster. The aura he exuded was terrifying. Strangely, besides the aura of disaster, there was also the light of redemption on his body. The strangest thing was that the strangely shaped weapon in the heavenly Lord of Calamity's hand was the light of redemption. The two should have been incompatible, but now, like yin and yang, they formed a perfect balance. This weapon was the sacred-grade immortal artifact, the Blade of Redemption. The heavenly Lord of Calamity had spent several epochs to refine it, and its strength was almost on par with his own. Of course, just like how his real body could not descend, this Blade of Redemption was naturally not his real body. Even so, this Blade of Redemption was still a king-grade weapon, no weaker than the Lost Sword or the Spear of Vengeance. The moment the heavenly Lord of Calamity arrived, he sensed that something was wrong. The celestial race had been beaten back, and the energy of the Great Tribulation was dissipating. Although confused, the heavenly Lord of Calamity didn't think too much about it. His eyes immediately locked onto Fong Qingshan. To him, nothing was more important than obtaining the Timeless Arkansas. As long as he obtained the Timeless Ark. So what if the celestial race sacrificed the black-yellow great world and attacked the celestial world? At that time, with his strength, he would be able to suppress them with a flip of his palm. Therefore, he had to figure out his priorities. He opened his eyes and stared at the bowl. A ray of golden light that transcended the endless years, the infinite kingdom, and the infinite universe descended beside Fong Qingshan. The strength of the attack was no less than that of the 10,000 celestial emperors attacking together. As expected of the heavenly Lord of Calamity, one of the rulers of the Fortune Heavenly Court. Just as gaze alone had such power, Fong Qingshan had already been prepared when he sensed the aura of the disaster. Therefore, although the golden light was swift and sharp, it didn't hurt him. A chessboard formed under his feet at lightning speed, like an eternal galaxy. Not only did the golden light not hurt Fong Qingshan, but it was also directly banished into the infinite void. I didn't expect the black-yellow great world to have an even bigger anomaly like you besides Fong Han. The heavenly Lord of Calamity said indifferently as he sized up Fong Qingshan. I didn't expect an anomaly like you to exist in the black-yellow great world other than Fong Han. The heavenly Lord of Calamity carefully sized up Fong Qingshan and said indifferently, "An anomaly like you is the biggest tumor in the all heavens. Will you let me go as long as I hand over the Timeless Ark?" When Fong Qingshan heard this, a faint smile appeared on his face. He was not the only one. The other people from a black-yellow great world also had the same expression on their faces. If they had seen the heavenly Lord of Calamity descending to the mortal world before they had dealt with the three celestial lords, they would have probably knelt down on the spot. After all, this was not a projection, but a clone that had descended to the mortal world. Moreover, this clone had the strength of a heavenly lord and was even carrying a king-grade celestial weapon. Now, however, they were full of confidence in Fong Qingshan and even felt sorry for the heavenly Lord of Calamity for a few seconds. Chapter 664. Timeless Ark? That ship is called the Timeless Ark? Nice name. Naturally, the heavenly Lord of Calamity sensed their gazes. Although it was strange, he didn't care. He first savored the name of the Timeless Ark, and then said matter-of-factly, "That's right. You should know that an innocent man will get into trouble because of his wealth. That kind of treasure is not something you should have. Give it to me, and I will pardon you." Ha ha! Fong Qingshan threw his head back and laughed maniacally. There are fanatics every year, but there are especially many today. What do you mean? When the heavenly monarch of disaster heard Fong Qingshan's unbridled laughter and the fact that he had called himself a fanatic, his face immediately darkened. As one of the oldest lords of heaven, ever since the immortal king went into seclusion. Thus, he became one of the true leaders of the Fortune Immortal Court. Other than a few people, he was bossy, and no one had ever dared to be so arrogant in front of him. Initially, he was still thinking that if Fong Qingshan were to offer the eternal heavenly vessel to him, he would be willing to let bygones be bygones. Who could have thought that Fong Qingshan would actually reject his goodwill? He was truly courting death. At the thought of this, the heavenly monarch of disaster's eyes flashed with a cold light. In an instant, the entire world seemed to have turned into a world of ice and snow. Although the others felt goosebumps all over their bodies and shivered, they were not too afraid. Needless to say, Fong Qingshan was not affected in the slightest and said slowly, "Didn't you receive any news? Aren't you curious where the god race's army went? You received the news? What news?" The heavenly monarch of disaster raised his eyebrows. "All right, has the god race not started their attack yet?" The heavenly lord of disaster was indeed a little confused about this. Logically speaking, the Shun clan should have started the sacred sacrifice long ago in the black-yellow great world. At this moment, there should be wailing and rivers of blood flowing. But looking at the situation now, it did not seem to be the case at all. As a lord of heaven in charge of disasters, he was especially sensitive to the chi of disasters. He could already sense that the aura of the Xuanhuan Great World's great tribulation was dissipating. Could it be that the great calamity has passed and the Shun clan has retreated? The heavenly lord of disaster secretly speculated. No, that's impossible. How can the Xuanhuan Great World contend against the power of the God Clan? As an existence that could challenge the immortal world, the divine race's strength could be counted on one hand in all the heavens. It would have been fine if the profound origin world still possessed the power of the ancient times and could resist the Shun clan. However, even the central world, the strongest among the 3,000 great worlds, was like an ant in the face of the Shun clan, let alone the profound origin world. Therefore, the heavenly lord of disaster was completely clueless about this. Could it be? Suddenly, a thought flashed through the heavenly monarch of disaster's mind, and he thought of a possibility. If the great tribulation ended, the only thing that could repel the god race was probably that supreme treasure. Thinking of this, the heavenly lord of calamity was not shocked but delighted. Do you know why? Supreme treasures could indeed play the role of turning the tide and stabilizing the universe. However, the more powerful the treasure, the higher the requirements to activate it. Given Fong Qingshan's cultivation, it would be extremely difficult for him to activate that supreme treasure. Being able to activate it even once would already be a blessing from the heavens. It was precisely because he had considered that Fong Qingshan could activate that supreme treasure that the heavenly lord of disaster had made ample preparations this time. Not only had he sent a heavenly master-level clone to the lower realm, but he had also brought a king-grade immortal artifact. In his view, this double insurance was foolproof. Now, it seemed that in order to repel the god race, Fong Qingshan had already used the supreme treasure. The heavens are on my side. The heavenly lord of disaster couldn't help but heartily laugh. Seeing the heavenly lord of disaster's maniacal laughter, Fong Qingshan and the others couldn't help but look at each other. In the end, he couldn't be bothered to say anything more and directly attacked. This time, Fong Qingshan didn't activate the ice and flame array. Firstly, as mentioned earlier, it was extremely difficult to activate the formation. Now that the great calamity was over, the will of the heavens might not help him anymore. Moreover, the 5 elemental sex foundation was in the sun-moon void. Activating the array would shake its foundation. Moreover, he had a better method. Why wouldn't he use it? Compared to activating the array, the timeless arc was clearly much better. This was because it contained the eternal true spirit and the eternal lightning pool. As long as he gave the order, he didn't need to worry about anything else. Since the heavenly lord wants the timeless arc, then take it. With a thought, Fong Qingshan communicated with the Permethos ship and sent an order to the Thunder Emperor. Rumble. In the next moment, the Permethos ship descended from the void into the profound yellow great world. An ancient heavenly ship that was tens of thousands of zhang in size descended from the sky and appeared out of nowhere. On the heavenly ship, there were many sails hanging from the sails, and there seemed to be endless chaotic chi rolling in every sail. It exuded an ancient and boundless aura. On the deck, There were many ferocious arrow towers, ballistas, cannons, and magic towers. They were like terrifying beasts that occupied the deck. They shone with a soul-stirring aura, and a murderous aura filled the air. A unique, eternal aura naturally spread out. This is the supreme treasure, the timeless Ark. The heavenly Lord of Calamity still remembered the aura of the timeless Arkansas. As soon as it appeared, he immediately recognized it. Moreover, he was even more certain that this treasure was not inferior to the 33 heavens' supreme treasure of fortune. How is this possible? How is this possible? Didn't we already use it to deal with the Protoss? How can it still be activated? The heavenly Lord of Calamity, who was originally laughing heartily and thinking that the heavens favored him, was suddenly like a duck that had its neck pinched. He could no longer make a sound, and his face was full of disbelief. One had to know that to activate the 33 heavens' supreme treasure of fortune, the 6 great celestial courts had to work together. How could Feng Qingshan activate such a supreme treasure over and over again? What he did not know was that Feng Qingshan had not even used the Timeless Ark when dealing with the Protoss. Moreover, unlike the 33 heavens' supreme treasure of fortune, Feng Qingshan's Timeless Ark did not only have the power for one attack. As long as the eternal lightning pool had an unending supply of energy, it could be used continuously. And with the lightning gathering tower and the eternal lightning pool's energy, forget one attack. Even 10 or 100 attacks would not be a problem. Otherwise, how could the Timeless Ark, which had just entered Ling Yun's level, become a king of the Zenith Heaven Immortal Realm? This was the result of the information asymmetry and the limitations of knowledge. The information asymmetry was actually the Heavenly Lord of Calamity's own fault. He had previously blocked the information, so those in the lower realms could not send any information up. After he descended, those from the various great realms who had coveted the 5 elemental sect and the black-yellow great world were wiped out by Feng Qingshan. And when ordinary people saw that Feng Qingshan had killed the Protoss's 3 heavenly masters and that the heavenly Lord of Calamity had not descended in his true body, they did not dare to court him. Therefore, the heavenly Lord of Calamity still had no idea about Feng Qingshan's combat power. Chapter 665. As for the lack of knowledge, they didn't even know that there was a treasure like the Timeless Arkansas. Such a powerful treasure was actually in the hands of someone of Feng Qingshan's cultivation level, and its power was so shocking. The heavenly Lord of Disaster was stunned, but Feng Qingshan and the Timeless Ark didn't hesitate. After the Timeless Ark appeared, it exploded under the command of the Thunder Emperor. Kill! The Thunder Emperor let out a soft roar. Dang, dang, dang. Swoosh, swoosh, boom, boom. The Soul Buster bell on the deck was the first to ring. An ancient bell that was the color of primordial chaos rippled and rippled. With unfathomable majesty, it divided yin and yang, refined the 5 elements, pushed the 8 trigrams, and solidified the qi. An invisible force descended and confined the heavenly Lord of Disaster. As soon as the bell appeared, it suppressed the universe, and time seemed to slow down. Then, the arrow towers, ballistas, cannons, and magic towers were activated. Arrows, ballistas, sorcery spells, and cannonballs turned into a meteor shower, instantly breaking through the void and appearing directly in front of the heavenly Lord of Disaster. They were densely packed like the night rain from all directions, and their speed was fast like a stream of light. Of course, their power was also extraordinary. The arrows were fatal, and the ballistas were the doomsday crossbows. The cannons were the demon-killing cannons, and the laws were the judgment law. Although these attacks couldn't be compared to the 9 bends yellow river diagram and the death scythe on the eternal divine furnace unit, they still couldn't be underestimated. Arrows, ballistas, sorcery spells, and cannonballs fell with terrifying power. They could destroy heaven and earth, penetrate everything, and shatter the void and time. If it had been someone with a lower cultivation base, they would have been torn to shreds and turned into pieces of flesh and blood. Fortunately, The heavenly lord of disaster was not an ordinary person. As one of the most ancient heavenly lords, he could control the fortune celestial court. How could he be someone with an undeserved reputation? Although he was also shocked by the power of the timeless arc, he was a veteran and didn't panic in the face of danger. He picked up the blade of redemption in his hand and immediately counterattacked. As the blade slashed down, it was as if millions of stars, suns, and moons had collapsed. The terrifying divine radiance pierced through heaven and earth, overturning the universe. Vast rays of light seemed to be redeeming the world. It was like a river of stars that poured down. Everywhere it passed, space itself was vaporized by this ray of light. The heavenly monarch of disaster was indeed the heavenly monarch of disaster. He perfectly displayed the supreme combat power of the ancient heavenly monarchs of the heavenly courts. Although this was only a clone, the power of this attack was not one bit weaker than the three heaven lords of the god race. The light of salvation clashed with the arrows, crossbow bolts, magic spells, and cannonballs. A terrifying rumble was heard as billions of rays of divine light shot out. Wherever the divine light passed, even the void was twisted and torn. It was a scene of great destruction. It was extremely terrifying. Two terrifying forces and wills were colliding. They have met their match, and the general has met his talent. In this collision, the two of them were evenly matched. The heavenly lord of disaster could not help but heave a sigh of relief. He had thought that although the timeless arc was a powerful treasure, Feng Qingshan would not be able to use its full power. Furthermore, he was a half-step heavenly lord and had a king-grade celestial artifact. He believed that he would be the one laughing in the end. Feng Qingshan clearly did not know what the heavenly lord of disaster was thinking. Otherwise, he would have laughed coldly and said that the heavenly lord of disaster was thinking too much. These two forces were too vast. They were even more powerful than when Feng Qingshan had used the Raging Ice Flame Array to destroy the three god race heaven lords. The entire world was shaking. Mountains and rivers were collapsing. Volcanoes were erupting, rivers were flowing in reverse, and the sky was filled with spatial cracks that looked like ancient poison dragons. This was the first time they had fought. If they fought a few more times, it would really be the end of the world. The world would be destroyed, and the world would return to primal chaos. The origin intent of the world naturally did not wish to see such a situation. After experiencing a great calamity, the origin intent of the black-yellow great world was much weaker. It could not suppress Feng Qingshan and the heavenly lord of disaster at all. Since that was the case, he could only let them fight. However, the condition was that they did not affect him. Therefore, before Feng Qingshan and the heavenly lord of disaster could continue fighting, there was a loud noise, and the space-time of the black-yellow great world began to change. This was the origin intent of the world making a move. The stars moved, and space-time reversed. It directly threw Feng Qingshan, the timeless arc, and the heavenly lord of disaster far away from the black-yellow great world. Feng Qingshan and the heavenly lord of disaster did not resist. They allowed the origin intent to transport them away. Feng Qingshan felt that the providence of the Five Elements sect was also supported by the origin intent in the black-yellow great world. He did not want to destroy the world and ruin his providence. The heavenly lord of disaster thought that fighting in the black-yellow great world was Feng Qingshan's home ground. More importantly, the origin intent of the black-yellow great world repelled him. Once Feng Qingshan was at a disadvantage, the heavenly lord of disaster was afraid that the augmentation of the power of heaven and earth would be disadvantageous to him. Therefore, the man had feelings for the concubine, and they hit it off immediately. After leaving the black-yellow great world, Feng Qingshan could let the timeless arc attack with all his might. Ram it! Right in front of the Permethal boat, a huge ram that flickered with a chaotic gray light appeared. The long and sharp ram shone with a terrifying light. The ram extended thousands of feet, and the void in front of it was constantly being destroyed. It was being torn apart. This horn was formed by Feng Qingshan using the horn of the Chaos Demon God that he had obtained previously infusing it with the timeless Arkansas. The sails fluttered. The timeless ark rammed it directly. Its speed seemed slow, but it was actually very fast. At the same time, an invisible force locked onto the heavenly lord of disaster, making it impossible for him to dodge. He could only take it head-on. Its power was not inferior to the eternal divine furnace unit. Rip! This collision was like silk being torn. The void in the surroundings was torn apart, and countless elements roared and rolled. Damn it! Seeing this, the heavenly lord of disaster's expression changed. Calamity redemption dominates the great path. With a roar, the heavenly monarch of disaster immediately performed his best skill with the blade of redemption. For a moment, on one side, there were curses of despair, and a boundless aura of disaster filled the sky. On the other side, there was the vast light of redemption. It was full of vitality, holiness, and self-redemption aura that swept in all directions. On one side, there was disaster, and on the other side, there was redemption. It was like ice and fire, yin and yang, black and white, light and darkness. They were opposites, but they were perfectly combined. Unfortunately, the timeless arc and Ling Yun's level could be called kings in the Zenith Heaven realm. Putting aside the previous attack from the deck unit, the timeless arc's collision was completely different. With this collision, the calamity redemption dominates, the great path collapsed. Even the blade of redemption was sent flying, and the heavenly lord of disaster was sent flying. If he had not been wearing a king-grade celestial artifact, dermic robe, he would have been in serious trouble. Chapter 666. However, it was not any better now. His arm was shattered, and his king-grade celestial artifact, dermic robe, was filled with cracks. Kill him while he's down. Azure waves. A sickle appeared out of thin air. Its ferocious sawtooth slashed down like the god of death. Death's sickle. The item was pitch black, like the convergence of calamity and death. There were mysterious runes flashing on it, forming strange Tao marks that were branded on the sickle. One could vaguely see souls struggling and moaning on the sickle, occasionally letting out creepy laughter. It was like an endless hell, sending chills down one's spine. This item was a top-notch killing treasure, although it could not compare to the Godslayer's attack, which was comparable to a Khanate cardinal treasure. It was not inferior to the Yuan-Tu, Avicii, and Juxian swords. Especially when it was activated by the Timeless Arc, its power was maximized. It was also after the collision with the Timeless Arc earlier. If the Timeless Arc advanced from Ling Yun to unparalleled in the future, the Death Sickle's power would probably catch up to or even surpass the Godslayer. At this moment, the Heavenly Lord of Calamity was severely injured. His Blade of Redemption was knocked away, and his king-grade celestial artifact, dermic robe, was torn. Good. I didn't expect you to be able to fully unleash the power of this treasure. The Heavenly Lord of Calamity was puzzled, and a haze rose in his heart. However, the most important thing now was not to think about these things. Blocking this attack was the most important thing. 33 heavens, supreme saint, creation divine fist, dominating true technique. The Heavenly Lord of Calamity roared and performed the 33 heavens creation divine fist. This was a set of martial arts that surpassed the immortal Tao. There were 33 moves in total, corresponding to the 33 heavens. Each move was a combination of 99 types of 3,000 great Taos and 3,000 primordial secret techniques from the immortal world. Then, they were combined and condensed into an unprecedented killing move. Such a peerless technique was enough to activate creation and reach the pinnacle of the martial Tao, surpassing the immortal technique. Of course, it was not easy to truly comprehend it unless one had seen the true good fortune treasure, the 33 heavens, or received the personal guidance of the good fortune immortal king. These 2 points were not a problem for the Heavenly Lord of Disaster. As one of the most capable heavenly monarchs under the creation immortal king, the Heavenly Monarch of Calamity naturally received some pointers from the creation immortal king. Ever since the primordial era, the creation immortal king, who was in possession of the 33 heavens' supreme treasure, was defeated by the gate of eternal life summoned by the Electro-Mother heavenly monarch. The immortal king retired, and the 6 most ancient heavenly monarchs took charge of the heavenly court. The 33 heavens' supreme treasure was also left in the heavenly court for them to control. Later on, they even used this treasure to kill the Yellow Spring Grand Emperor who had fused with Taoist reincarnation and reached the heavenly monarch realm. Therefore, it was reasonable that the heavenly Lord of Disaster could use this technique. At that moment, a clap of thunder sounded out of nowhere, shaking the heavens and realms. 33 tyrannical figures appeared behind the heavenly monarch of calamity. There were umbrellas, knives, swords, towers, bows, locks, claws. They combined together to form a jade palace, a heavenly palace. Fang Qingshan was no stranger to this item because he had seen it before from Feng Han. Back in the eternal world, he had personally refined such a treasure and used it as the palace of Lingxiao City. The 33 heavens' supreme treasure, one of the most powerful, destinable divine artifacts. The creation immortal king had ruled the heavenly realm for an era. When this move was used, it was as if the 33 heavens' supreme treasure of fortune had descended. The 33 heavens' suppression was high and mighty, and the fortune was boundless. Buzz! The sound of a great bell rang out. The death scythe struck the 33 heavens. It was like a giant axe splitting a mountain, the sun and moon falling, and the universe exploding. It was like the roar of the gods. The flames of anger burned the heavens and destroyed the world. If it was really the 33 heavens' supreme treasure of fortune left behind by the creation immortal king in the heavenly realm, or if it was just a peerless, immortal artifact that several heavenly monarchs in the heavenly court had worked together to refine for countless years, a saint-grade immortal artifact of the 33 heavens' supreme treasure, it might even be able to resist the death scythe. But now, it was just a projection of the 33 heavens' supreme treasure of fortune drawn over by immortal Lord Calamity's 33 heavens' divine fist. How could it be a match for the death scythe? With this saber strike, the originally solid 33 skies instantly dimmed. Countless cracks appeared, and streams of golden light trembled continuously as if they were about to collapse. Damn it! Seeing that his 33 heavens' divine fist of fortune and the projection of the supreme treasure of fortune were unable to do anything to Fang Qingshan, immortal Lord Calamity finally panicked. His intestines were green with regret. If he had known this would happen, he would not have taken such a risk. Now, if he was defeated, he would lose the Dharma robe, the blade of redemption, and the 2 king grade immortal artifacts. But if his heavenly lord-level clone was destroyed, his main body would be implicated, and his main body would definitely be heavily injured. This was the most crucial point. 33-fold battle prowess. Seeing that the fist intent was about to shatter, immortal Lord Calamity persisted and used the true profundity of the 33 heavens' divine fist of fortune. There was no need to elaborate on the profundity of this fist art. He also had a secret art that could increase his battle prowess by 33-fold. However, comprehending this secret art not only required a high level of comprehension, but it was also something that could only be encountered by chance. Moreover, although the 33 times battle prowess was unfathomable, it was like the 7 wounding fist. If one wanted to use it, one would first have to bear the backlash of this secret art. Otherwise, one would be killed by the explosive force of the fist before even using the fist art. Fortunately, immortal Lord Calamity had always treated this secret art as his trump card, so he already had a way to deal with it. Although he would still be heavily injured, it was much better than being killed. The 3,000 great Daos, fortune reigned supreme. 33 heavens rule over 10,000 worlds. The glory of fortune is not to be blasphemed. Immortal monarch Calamity chanted an immortal sutra. For a moment, the 33 heavens' divine fist intent, which was already on the verge of collapse and covered in spiderweb cracks, instantly solidified and became brand new. Its might had increased by 33-fold. If it had only possessed the might of a king-grade celestial artifact before, it now possessed the might of a saint-grade celestial artifact. It was a complete qualitative change, and it could not be mentioned in the same breath. However, even so, Immortal Lord Calamity knew that this was just like drinking poison to quench thirst. It would not have any effect at all. First of all, one could not display battle prowess that surpassed a heavenly lord in the 3,000 worlds. This was also the reason why the Timeless Ark did not immediately take down Immortal Lord Calamity, even though it was the king of the Zenith Heaven. In order not to touch the bottom line of the world and attract the suppression of the world, the Timeless Ark did not fully display its power. At this moment, he displayed the power of a heavenly lord. If he did not leave now, he would have to face the backlash of the world, let alone the Timeless Arkansas. Chapter 667. Furthermore, and most importantly, he was well aware of the strength of the eternal heavenly vessel. It was not something that could be dealt with in a single strike. Let alone a single strike. Even if his true self was here, he would most likely be powerless against such a priceless treasure. At this moment, he finally understood the Netherspring Grand Emperor slightly, and he understood how those people who'd been killed by the Netherspring Grand Emperor felt. In the end, he also used this secret technique. He no longer had the strength to fight. His body was like porcelain, with cracks appearing all over it. It was as if he would collapse if he used even the slightest bit of strength. Go! When the Heavenly Monarch of Calamity punched out, he did not hope to break the Death Side's attack, nor did he hope to injure Fong Qingshan. All he wanted was to delay the Eternal Sky Vessel's attack and buy himself some time to escape. At this moment, he did not even bother to put away the king-grade celestial weapon, the Blade of Redemption. With a thought, he connected to the gate of the celestial realm. In the next moment, a supreme door appeared with a bang, and it was inscribed with dragons, phoenixes, Chilants, immortals, Buddhas, demons, devils, and all sorts of spirits. They depicted divine abilities, techniques, and grand daos of cultivation techniques, and they represented the source of all techniques. Auspicious clouds shrouded the sky, auspicious energy rose, heavenly sounds resounded, and heavenly flowers fluttered about. Following that, a beam of celestial light descended and enveloped Immortal Lord Calamity. He wasn't the only one. Timeless Ark, Fong Qingshan, Mosquito Dowrin, and the others were also enveloped by the celestial light, as if they were going to be pulled into the celestial realm as well. This was not only because the gate of the immortal realm had sensed that Fong Qingshan and the others' cultivation levels had exceeded the limit of the 3,000 worlds, but it was also because of Immortal Lord Calamity's intention. Although he had to retreat because of the Timeless Ark, he had not given up on the Timeless Arkansas. He wanted to take revenge on Fong Qingshan. In the lower world, he might not be able to do it, but in the immortal world, that was his home ground. Although the Timeless Ark was powerful, it could also summon the 33 Heaven Supreme Good Fortune Treasure. Moreover, at that time, he would not be fighting alone. However, at that time, he might not be able to enjoy the Timeless Ark alone. This was something that made the Heavenly Lord of Disaster a little depressed. However, it was impossible to have your cake and eat it too. There was always a trade-off. Be willing, there will be gains. Compared to being able to comprehend the Timeless Ark and take revenge on Fong Qingshan, or having to use a sieve to draw water and allow Fong Qingshan to get away scot-free, the choice was obvious. Unfortunately, the idea was beautiful, but whether or not it could be realized was no longer up to one's will. It still depended on whether Fong Qingshan agreed or not. You want to leave? How can it be so easy? Standing on the Timeless Ark, a beam of golden light burst forth from the hull of the Ark. Buddhist chants rang out, and boundless power of will and golden lotuses descended, cutting off the celestial light from the immortal world gate. Following that, Immortal Lord Calamity had already stepped into the gate of the immortal realm. The passing water lantern appears, a bright lantern, illuminating the endless darkness. Fang Qingshan sneered. As soon as he said that, a quaint-looking lantern suddenly appeared in the sky above the timeless Arkansas. It was entirely bronze in color and exuded an ancient aura. Vaguely, a river could be seen surging within it. A man with the appearance of a teacher stood on the bank and sighed. The passing is like a man, unwilling to part with day and night. Passing water lantern. This was the treasure that Fang Qingshan had obtained from the divine demon treasury in Eternal World. Its power was in no way weaker than the treasures that he had fused with earlier. Although it was a lantern, it did not contain fire or hope. Instead, it contained the laws of time. The lantern flashed, looking like water. It was like a trickling stream that silently moisturized everything. At the same time, it was like a mighty wave. Not good. The heavenly lord of disaster instinctively sensed danger. He wanted to dodge and speed up his entry into the immortal world gate. However, the passing water lantern had already locked onto him. There was no way for him to dodge. Moreover, the speed of the lantern had reached an unimaginable level. The rock rose with the wind. The golden crow turned into a rainbow. The Emperor River pierced through the sky, and the passing water lantern were in no way slower than these. In an instant, the water-like lantern enveloped the immortal world gate. Naturally, the heavenly lord of disaster was also included in it. As the water flowed through the gate and his body, the immortal world gate erupted with an unprecedented brilliance. In an instant, the light was isolated outside. The immortal world gate could isolate the light, but the heavenly lord of disaster could not. If he was at his peak, it would not have been much of a problem. However, at this moment, he had been seriously injured by the timeless Arkansas. Then, he forcibly unleashed 33 times his combat power. He was already an arrow at the end of its flight. There was no way he could resist. However, the aura on his body began to change at an incredible speed. The coercion of a half-step heavenly lord dissipated at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was obliterated into nothingness in the long river of time. His aura was dissipating and his strength was constantly decreasing. Time was speeding up. The passing is like a man, unwilling to part with day and night. The waves of the sky faded away, but the heat could not stay. At this moment, it was as if the heavenly decay had arrived, as if the end of an era had arrived. The cultivation of the heavenly lord of disaster was declining, and his lifespan was decreasing. In the blink of an eye, he had gone from his prime to his twilight years. No, this is the power of time. How can you control it? Although the fate of the immortal world was unique, it was only because of the treasure, the gate of eternal life. However, time was respected and space was king. Time and space were both very powerful laws, but because they were too difficult, no one had walked out of the path to heaven. Therefore, they were not famous, but still, no one dared to underestimate them. At this moment, seeing that Fang Qingshan actually had such a treasure and was able to use the law of time, the heavenly lord of disaster could not help but be shocked. Stop quickly. Do you really want to fight me to the death? Clearly feeling that his realm, cultivation, power, and lifespan were declining at a speed visible to the naked eye, the heavenly lord of disaster cried out in horror. My original body is about to arrive. If you don't stop, you will die. What a joke. Ever since you set your eyes on the timeless ark, we are destined to fight to the death. Fang Qingshan did not waver. He looked coldly at the heavenly lord of disaster, who was struggling frantically in the river of time, trying to break free, and sneered. As for your original body, haha, do you think I will be afraid of your original body? Dream on. Not only did Fang Qingshan not stop, but he also further increased the power of the Thunder Emperor. No. In a split second, the heavenly lord of disaster uttered the word no. One of them was naturally the unwilling roar of his avatar. The other was naturally the angry roar of his original body when he arrived. The avatar of the heavenly lord of disaster turned into nothingness with a loud bang. You're courting death. Seeing his avatar destroyed with his own eyes, the aura of his original body, which had just arrived, suddenly declined. The heavenly lord of disaster looked at Fong Qingshan with a gaze that he wished he could drink his blood and eat his flesh. Chapter 668. Courting Death? Let's see who dies first. Fong Qingshan rolled his eyes. He once again activated the passing water lamp and swept it toward the heavenly lord of calamity who was on the other side of the gate. I'll remember you. Don't let me see you again. Otherwise, I'll make you wish you were dead. The heavenly lord of calamity was shocked when he saw Fong Qingshan's action. He was seriously injured because his clone had been destroyed. It was not the time to make a move. He hurriedly used the blade of redemption to destroy the time and fled after saying that. Humph! Seeing this, Fong Qingshan only snorted coldly and did not chase after him. This matter was considered to have come to an end. When the time came, heaven and earth would work together. But when the time came, the hero would not be free. The great calamity of the divine clan was a great calamity for others. However, it was a great opportunity for Fong Qingshan. This time, he was the biggest winner. The divine clan and the immortal world had become his stepping stones. The divine clan, in particular, had suffered a double loss. The hundreds of millions of divine clan warriors who had been sent to attack had been killed. Even though the divine clan was a large clan, it would not be able to recover in a short time. More importantly, they had lost 3 half-step heaven monarchs, which was a serious blow to the Shun clan. If the immortal kings did not appear, the heavenly lords ruled. Below the heavenly lords were the heavenly lords. Even the divine clan could not bear the loss of 3 heavenly lords, who were from the ancient 7 emperors. Moreover, they had suffered such a huge loss. It would have been fine if they could achieve their goal. Unfortunately, they did not. They could not use the sacred sacrifice to destroy the heaven-yellow great world. They could not open the gate to the immortal world. They could not summon the ancestral sacred king. They also could not cut the world tree and obtain the timeless Arkansas. Just like the divine clan, the heavenly lord of calamity had not only suffered a double loss, but he had also implicated his main body. He had lost a heavenly lord's clone, 2 king-grade celestial weapons, and his main body had been seriously injured. The losses were huge. Similarly, his original goal had not been achieved. The timeless ark still belonged to someone else. On the other hand, besides a few top-rate precious treasures like the primordial violet chi, the benefits Fong Qingshan obtained in the Fiend God battlefield were even greater than what he obtained in the past. In terms of luck, they had repelled the God Clan and completely consolidated the position of the 5 Elements sect in the Black-Yellow Great World. From now on, as long as the descendants of the 5 Elements sect worked hard, they would be able to remain unchanging for generations, just like the position of the limitless star palace in the boundless world. Even if the descendants did not work hard by relying on the sun-moon void, they would be invincible. At the very least, they would be able to achieve the status that the Greater One sect had in the past. It wasn't just the karmic luck of the Xianwang Great World. The God race had been defeated, and they had lost 3 heaven lords. The karmic luck that had been stolen was no less than the karmic luck he had obtained from the Eternal Night race. Apart from that, there was also the heavenly lord of calamity and the forces of the other 3,000 great worlds. With the combination of the karmic luck, Fong Qingshan directly integrated half of it into the universal chessboard and created 3 restrictions. In terms of resources, the 7 prefectures, 3 treasuries, 1 secret treasury, and various other treasuries had basically all fallen into Fong Qingshan's pocket. These were the treasures of the Black-Yellow Great World. He had destroyed those forces that had taken advantage of the situation. Naturally, he had not only taken away their karmic luck, but also the foundation that they had accumulated over the years. The Heavenly Lord of Calamity had also contributed 2 king-grade celestial artifacts, especially the Blade of Redemption. Even among king-grade celestial artifacts, it was considered a fine and superior item. The God race, on the other hand, did not leave many resources for Fong Qingshan. The main reason was that they had basically been devoured by Mosquito Dowrin and the World Tree clone. However, correspondingly, the two of them had also obtained great benefits. In particular, the World Tree clone had obtained the tree core, as well as the half of the World Tree obtained from the Fiend God treasury. If it was completely digested, breaking through to the Golden Immortal realm should be a piece of cake. Even breaking through to the Primordial Unity realm should not be a big problem. This also meant that the World Tree was really about to return to its peak state. In ancient times, before the World Tree was cut off, it was at most at the Immortal King realm. Because it had not taken form, it would be restrained. It was almost impossible for a top-notch spirit root, like the World Tree, to take form in the immortal world. This was because it needed at least the cultivation level of a Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal. It was very difficult for plants to achieve the Tao. Although it was easy to take form early, it would damage the foundation and waste a lot of good qualifications. If it took form late, it would be almost impossible to take form again. Some would not even be able to take form at all. In the Great Desolation world, there were so many top-notch spirit roots, but apart from the Bodhi tree, almost no one else could take form. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan had the World Tree, and he was not fighting alone. After all, he was a doppelganger of Fang Qingshan. As long as Fang Qingshan or Mosquito Dowrin reached the Tao first, they could also nourish the World Tree in turn, which would reduce the difficulty. Jin Yuanzi took this path. Unfortunately, this path was not easy to walk. At least Jin Yuanzi did not go through it. Fortunately, Mosquito Dowrin's Tao was clear, but it was a problem of resources. This time, after devouring so much flesh, Tao artifacts, immortal artifacts, and resources, Mosquito Dowrin would be able to break through to the Golden Immortal realm. Even if there were some problems, it was not far away. The only problem now was Fang Qingshan's own cultivation. He had been an earthly immortal for a long time. In the past, he unified the black-yellow great world, blessed with luck and nourishment from the world, and his cultivation reached the Golden Immortal realm. However, in order to lay a solid foundation, he suppressed the improvement of his cultivation. In the eternal world, he scattered his cultivation and recultivated. Now, it was time to improve his cultivation. Firstly, the Great Tribulation was over. He had also cleaned up the other great worlds. In the black-yellow great world, 5 elemental sect could sit back and relax. After reaching the immortal plane, a low cultivation base would not do. Although he had the timeless arc, Fang Qingshan did not want to rely too much on it. It was better to cultivate the Tao himself. Although Wu Mu also had the martial tomb, he would not use it unless it was a critical moment. Normally, he would use the Azure Lotus Array Diagram, his life-bound magic treasure. Thus, it was imperative for him to improve his cultivation base. That was especially true when his 2 doppelgangers were on the verge of reaching the Golden Immortal stage. If his main body was too weak, he would not have to worry about a backlash, but it would not be good. However, there was another problem in breaking through. Cultivation techniques. Back in the eternal world, due to his limited cultivation base and knowledge, Fang Qingshan had only created the All Heavens Tao verification technique up to the Earthly Immortal stage. After the Earthly Immortal stage was the Gold Immortal stage. Although he had a rough outline, it was not completely detailed. At present, the problem he needed to solve was to sort out and perfect the cultivation techniques from the Earthly Immortal stage to the Gold Immortal stage. For the present Fang Qingshan, this was not a difficult task. Firstly, the cultivation bases of his 2 doppelgangers were already on the verge of reaching the Gold Immortal stage. They shared the same thoughts. Additionally, he already possessed the cultivation base of a Gold Immortal. Thus, he knew the cultivation levels very well. Chapter 669. The other was in the Fiend Celestial Treasury, where he had exchanged for many cultivation techniques. Others could be used to improve jade. He only needed to extract the essence and get rid of the impurities to perfect the cultivation technique. In addition, he had also studied the body of the Chaos Fiend Celestial. Most importantly, the 5-element Spirit Pearl had advanced to a top connate spiritual treasure, and although the primordial violet chi had not been refined, It was more helpful to Feng Qingshan's enlightenment than the Bodhi would. Therefore, as long as he went into seclusion once, he would be able to create the follow-up all heavens Tao verification technique. As long as he had the cultivation technique and sufficient resources, Feng Qingshan's cultivation breakthrough would be a matter of time. Tai Green Dragon Technique, a wood attribute cultivation technique. After mastering, one's dermic powers will be endless, and it has excellent healing effects. It also has a hint of dragon might. It is very mysterious, but the cultivation technique is incomplete. The highest one can reach is the golden immortal realm. Nirvana True Phoenix Technique, a fire attribute cultivation technique. It is most suitable for women to cultivate. 9 rebirths, 1 nirvana, 1 metamorphosis, and 9 revolutions of immortality. After mastering, one can obtain the bloodline of the true phoenix and obtain an innate divine power of the phoenix clan. The cultivation technique is incomplete, but the highest one can reach is the primordial unity realm. Mountain moving and sea filling technique, an earth attribute cultivation technique. It is the giant spirit clan's most treasured cultivation technique. After mastering, moving mountains and filling seas is easy. Standing on the ground, one has unparalleled defense. The highest one can reach is the golden immortal realm. In the timeless arc, inside the Sutra Depository, Feng Qingshan quickly flipped through the divine power cultivation technique manuals. He read them with relish. The Sutra Depository was incomparable to the Sutra Depository in the Five Elements sect in Lingxiao City. It contained all of Feng Qingshan's cultivation techniques, including the one-turning Sanqing, the Tai Ching celestial technique, the all heavens Tao verification technique, and so on. The many cultivation techniques that he had exchanged from the Fiend Celestial Treasury were also here. This time, when Feng Qingshan purged the 3,000 Great Worlds, he had obtained many legacy cultivation techniques from the Xianhuang Great Worlds treasure trove. At this moment, Feng Qingshan wanted to create a follow-up technique to the Tao verification formula in the heavens. In order to obtain a relatively perfect technique that was most suitable for him, he naturally had to read a lot of books and learn the best from others. He flipped through the divine abilities and cultivation methods one by one. Some of the ones he had read before were reread to gain new insights and new understandings. As for those he had not read before, he studied them in detail, secretly comprehending the essence contained in each cultivation method, absorbing the essence and getting rid of the impurities. The collection in the Sutra Depository Pavilion could be said to be as vast as the sea, innumerable grains of sand in the Ganges River. Fortunately, Feng Qingshan's primordial spirit was powerful, and with the help of the passing water lamp, he was able to reverse time. Otherwise, he did not know how long it would have taken. At this moment, Feng Qingshan was like rain after a long drought, crazily absorbing every bit of nutrients. He was constantly enriching himself and strengthening his foundation. His knowledge began to increase at an incredible speed. In his Niwen Palace, the Bodhi would shone brightly. Heavenly music made one involuntarily immerse themselves in the great Tao. The speed at which one's thoughts operated and the efficiency of one's comprehension increased tenfold, hundredfold. Almost everything he saw, he could quickly comprehend the essence of it. Instantly, his entire temperament underwent an earth-shattering change. This was a kind of erudition similar to that of a great Confucian scholar. The wisdom halo appeared behind Xiao Qin's head once again. A sword of wisdom floated in the air, swinging from time to cut away the impurities, leaving only the essence. Inexorably, there seemed to be scrolls, articles, scriptures, and pearls colliding with each other, merging and comprehending. In this process of collision, grinding, and mastering, some words, sentences, and essays dimmed and then shattered in the end. Some were like thousands of hammers and tens of thousands of chisels, tempered into steel. The more they collided, the more boundless precious light erupted. Azure Imperial Edict, Golden Radiance, and Scarlet Energy, all of them as big as bulls, every word like a pearl, releasing great radiance. Fang Qingshan even took the opportunity to reorganize the Earth Immortal chapter from before. After the cultivation technique was created, it was not perfect. It did not mean that everything was fine and there was nothing to worry about. As one's cultivation level increased, one would gain new insights. It needed to be perfected continuously. The sea of learning was boundless, and so was the Tao. Fang Qingshan cultivated the 5 elements Tao and naturally focused on the 5 elements. The others, devour, chaos, yin, yang, heaven, earth, talent, fate, and karma, all had to be integrated into the 5 elements. Using one Tao to melt 10,000 Taos, and then using one Tao to produce 10,000 Taos. This was the most common path that everyone took, and it was also the easiest path. If one took the path of 10,000 Taos, returning to 1 from the start, not only would it take an immeasurable amount of time, but it would also be easy for one to go astray. Even if one did not go the wrong way, it was very likely that one's fate would end before the great Tao was formed. While Fang Qingshan was creating the cultivation technique in seclusion in the outside world, the 5-element sect was also methodically digesting the benefits of the calamity under the arrangements of Fang Han, Qiong Qi, Feng Baiyu, and the others. After this battle, the black-yellow Great World once again became the leader of the 3,000 Great Worlds. Because of Fang Qingshan, the 5-element sect naturally rose in status and became the number 1 in all heavens. The reason for this was that although Fang Qingshan's name was very important, more importantly, the other major forces had basically been wiped out by Fang Qingshan and Wen Daoist one after another. Not only had their experts been killed or injured, but even the foundation of their sects had been swept clean by them. As such, the 5-element sect naturally became the number 1 sect in all heavens. During this time, Fang Qingxue finally returned. She originally thought that after obtaining the foundation of her previous life, her cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds, almost breaking through to the golden immortal realm. And she even had an immortal artifact in her hand. She should be able to restore her status as the number 1 person in the Fang family. But after she came back, what she heard and saw completely overwhelmed her thoughts. Even Fang Han's cultivation was slightly lower than hers. In terms of combat power, even Fang Han's combat power was not inferior to hers, let alone Fang Qingshan. The rest of the Fang family, especially their fathers, Fang Zeshan and Fang Zitao, had unexpectedly broken through from the physical body realm to the longevity secret realm with the help of a large number of resources from Fang Qingshan. Moreover, they had not reached the longevity realm or the undying realm, but the cosmic light realm. Now, there were a total of 3 things that everyone had to do. The first was naturally to digest the benefits brought about by the calamity. After the calamity, the qi of heaven and earth had been added to their bodies. Although their cultivation had not improved by leaps and bounds, it had at least improved greatly. The second was to consolidate the position of the 5-element sect in the black-yellow Great World and rule over the 3,000 Great Worlds. The first was easy, but the second was too difficult. Although some of the major forces in the other Great Worlds have been wiped out by Fang Qingshan did not do anything to the forces that had not made any moves. Moreover, the distance between each big world was too far. With the strength of the 5-element sect itself, except for Fang Qingshan and a few others, it was obviously beyond the power of the 5-element sect to radiate its influence to the 3,000 big worlds. Chapter 670. The last point was naturally to prepare for ascension. When a man attained the Tao, even his pets would ascend. Once Fang Qingshan came out of seclusion, they would be able to ascend to the immortal world. This was the ultimate goal of everyone's cultivation, to become an immortal. This was especially so for many world kings and void immortals who were less talented. It would be easier for them to cultivate to become perfected immortals and celestial immortals in the immortal world. However, it was not that no one was worried. After all, Fang Qingshan had offended the heavenly lord of disaster. Ascending to the immortal world meant entering someone else's territory. Just thinking about the challenges that would follow made one's scalp tingle. In the timeless arc, as Fang Qingshan's comprehension increased and deepened, endless great Tao insights emerged in his mind. As for the flaws in the Earth Immortal chapter that he had derived previously, he could easily make up for them, clearing away all the hidden dangers that could be seen in his current realm. Following that, the Golden Immortal chapter was naturally completed. He knew what was the most correct way to do it. In addition to the framework that he already had, it began to fill up at an unimaginable speed. The essence of various 5 elements cultivation techniques naturally integrated into it. Other cultivation techniques that were not of the 5 elements were also integrated into it. All methods return to the origin. No matter how many changes there are, they still remain the same. Even space-time, fate, and karma could be integrated into the 5 elements, but it would take a little more time. Fortunately, apart from the Bodhi wood, there was also the 5-element spirit pearl, a top-notch connate numinous treasure. As Fang Qingshan's Tao verification numinous treasure, and a mountain character that he had just obtained were also helping him to comprehend the 5 elements' great Tao. There were endless Tao runes of the 5 elements constantly emerging, integrated into his mind, and became his own enlightenment. His understanding of the 5 elements had never been clearer. Of course, the most important thing was that the primordial violet qi in his sea of consciousness would flash from time to time, allowing Fang Qingshan to complete the construction and perfection of the All Heavens Tao Verification Mantra's Golden Immortal chapter more smoothly. Just like the Earth Immortal chapter, the Golden Immortal chapter also followed the 5 elements cultivation technique. In the end, the 5 elements would be integrated into one, and the Golden Immortal would be immortal. The Earth Immortal chapter was about cultivating essence into qi, cultivating qi into spirit, cultivating spirit into emptiness, cultivating emptiness into Tao, and the itinerant immortal realm. Cultivating one of the 5 elements techniques, then combining the 5 elements into one to break through to the Earth Immortal realm. It was the same now. Earth Immortals, Heavenly Immortals, True Immortals, and Mystic Immortals each cultivated 4 of the 5 elemental arts. And when they reached the half-step Golden Immortal level, they would be able to supplement the last one, achieving the 5 energies unification and successfully becoming an eternal Golden Immortal. Of course, just like before, every single time he cultivated a Tao of the 5 elements, he had to fuse a top-rate natural treasure into it. On one hand, he could obtain the aura of the Tao of the heavens and the earth to solidify his foundation, and on the other hand, he could use these natural treasures as a catalyst to refine an innate divine ability. It was just like the rainbow transformation art that he had obtained from cultivating the Earth Immortal chapter. Of course, Fang Qingshan didn't just cultivate Dharma, he also tempered his body. In order to refine his body, he would need to integrate another divine art. This was not a problem for him. When he first created the art, Fang Qingshan had already understood how to refine it. Therefore, as long as the art was perfected and as long as he had enough resources, breaking through his cultivation was only a matter of time. After all, his cultivation had long reached the Golden Immortal level. The only uncertainty was that after the 5 elements were perfected, Fang Qingshan would be able to obtain another innate divine ability. He just didn't know what this divine ability would give birth to. Defense, attack, or support. But thinking about it, it should not be weaker than the 5 elements bracelet. The power of the 5 elements bracelet was not inferior to inferior grade connate spiritual treasures. When his cultivation reached the Golden Immortal level, it would be considered a precious item even among middle grade spiritual treasures. When he broke through to the Zenith Heaven level, it could even be comparable to superior grade connate spiritual treasures. When he attained Origin Immortal Tao, even if it could not compare to connate cardinal treasures, it would still be one of the best connate spiritual treasures. Just like the primordial Lord of Heaven's auspicious cloud, golden lamp, and Nuwa's demon refining gourd. Therefore, Fang Qingshan was full of anticipation for his second innate divine ability. White Tiger, Immortal Metal, Dreaming Sirius, Triple Light, Sacred Water, Eternal Torch Flame, Myriad Wishful Clay. Black Tortoise, 8 trigrams Formula, Torch Dragon Spacetime Tao, Yin and Yang Magnetic Sutra, Tomb of 10,000 Emperors Canon, Myriad Wishful Technique. After Fang Qingshan picked out the treasures and cultivation methods that he needed to smelt, he activated the innate spirit meridian in the innate small world and began cultivating. For a moment, Fang Qingshan felt the endless laws of the 5 elements knocking on his arcane energy. Not only were they refining it, but they were also copying it. Although it was very blurry, and some could not even be seen clearly, it was already a qualitative difference. In terms of his physical body, Fang Qingshan felt that his flesh and blood were glowing, emitting endless divine splendor. Every inch of his flesh and blood was being tempered, and his heart was beating at an alarming rate. With every beat, drops of golden immortal true blood would be produced, and drops of golden immortal divine marrow would be produced in his bones from time to time. As time passed, rays of divine light could be seen flowing around Fang Qingshan's body, fluctuating indeterminately. 5 lotus flowers of 5 elements revolved around his body, outlining a mysterious Tao rhythm. Each flower emitted a rich aura of the origin of the 5 elements, the Tao rhythm of the laws. In addition to the halo of wisdom behind his head, there were also 5 halos of 5 elements standing tall. Above his head, there were endless great light, auspicious clouds, great wisdom, auspicious clouds, great 5 elements, auspicious clouds, great merit, auspicious clouds, and so on. At a certain moment, Fang Qingshan stood up and let out a loud roar, like the thunder of the heavens, shaking the spirit soul. His body swelled against the wind, and in a flash, he seemed to be indomitable, thousands of feet tall, sparkling like a crystal. His clothes fluttered, and the black hair behind his head danced wildly, exuding an aura of immortality. A golden immortal was immortal. At this moment, Fang Qingshan's cultivation base, not to mention an immortal world, even in any big world, he is a mainstay. After all, he was a golden immortal. Although he had not transcended like a zenith heaven, he was already immortal. Even if he had the David Decay, he could still hold on. Not only did Fang Qingshan break through to the golden immortal realm, but Mosquito Dauren and the World Tree clone also broke through one after another. At first, he thought that Mosquito Dauren's breakthrough would be a little troublesome. After all, he needed too many resources each time he broke through, especially as his cultivation increased. The resources he needed also increased. Moreover, it was not just a matter of quantity, but also of quality. It was not easy to cause a qualitative change from a quantitative change. The Golden Immortal Realm was a very important hurdle. So Fang Qingshan thought that he would be stuck at the peak of the Xian Immortal Realm, but he did not expect that he would actually break through. However, he only needed to look at his collection to know the reason. In this great calamity, except for some of the heritage left to the 5 Elements sect, plus Fang Qingshan's own cultivation resources, there was not much left of all the harvest, which was obviously devoured by Mosquito Dauren. Now, Fang Qingshan still didn't know, and was still happy for Mosquito Dauren. He didn't know if he would vomit blood when he saw that the treasure house was empty. Chapter 671. Now that I'm in the immortal world, even if I don't use the timeless arc, I don't have to be afraid of immortal Lord Calamity and the rest. Fang Qingshan was very satisfied with his breakthrough in cultivation. His current cultivation was not comparable to a heavenly lord. However, his combat power was not inferior to a heavenly lord. In terms of divine sense, cultivation techniques, and dharma treasures, he was superior. The immortal world. Although Fang Qingshan had been to many great worlds, such as the martial tomb, the apatheicized world, the eternal world, and even the primordial chaos age, he still yearned for the eternal immortal world. The reason for this was naturally because of the gate of eternal life. Fang Qingshan guessed that this treasure should be a Khanate cardinal treasure. Moreover, it was the easiest Khanate cardinal treasure to obtain. Khanate cardinal treasures could not be compared to Khanate numinous treasures. Even in a great world like the Desolation World and the Martial Tomb, there were pitifully few of them. Moreover, they were usually controlled by the primordial Chaos Sage. An ordinary man's wealth was his own ruin. Unless he was the protagonist, how many people could keep it even if it fell into the hands of someone with a low cultivation? Since it had fallen into the hands of a primordial Chaos Sage, it was simply a pipe dream for Fang Qingshan to snatch it. Even if the timeless arc advanced to the unparalleled realm, or even the quasi-sage or the primordial Chaos Sage, it would undoubtedly be a pipe dream for him to snatch a Khanate cardinal treasure from a sage. Even if the sage could not beat him, it would be easy for him to escape. Speaking of the advancement of the timeless arc, Fang Qingshan felt that there was no hurry. Although the Permitha boat had reached the peak of Ling Yin a long time ago, it was still lacking in foundation. Most importantly, the eternal units on the eternal divine furnace had not been filled. Logically speaking, Fang Qingshan had been to many worlds and obtained many treasures. He should have been able to fill the eternal divine furnace long ago. Unfortunately, he pursued perfection too much. Be it the Death Scythe or the Coin of Treasureful, which were top-grade Khanate spirit treasures, or even the 9 Bins Yellow River diagram, which was a powerful formation diagram. Even the Cosmic Star diagram, which was used as a road marker, had been of an unremarkable grade in the beginning. However, as Fang Qingshan continued to infuse it with various resources and the foundation of the heavenly ship grew, its grade slowly rose. Now, of the 9 units on the eternal divine furnace, other than the few treasures that he had smelted at the beginning, Fang Qingshan had exchanged for 2 more in the Fiend God treasure vault this time. One of them was the passing water lamp. The other was the Great Void armor. Just like the Nether Tome, it was a defensive treasure formed from the membrane of heaven and earth. Its defense was unparalleled, not inferior to the Mystic Essence water manipulation flag in the slightest. It wasn't that Fang Qingshan didn't want to exchange for a few more treasures. It was just that such a treasure was not only expensive, but it could only be found by chance. On the other hand, the sails and the ship's pillars had basically been completely solidified. Furthermore, Fang Qingshan had also recreated a few sail units. The number of weapon units on the deck had increased correspondingly, and the number of buildings with rare treasures in the ruined city had also increased. The hull had also become stronger because of the continuous integration of power of will. Now, the only thing he needed to consider was to fill the eternal divine furnace with eternal units as soon as possible so that the timeless arc could continue to advance. When that happened, not only would the timeless arc advance, but Fang Qingshan, as its host, would also receive a great opportunity. After all, every time the timeless arc advanced, it would receive a blessing from the eternal god Lotus. This kind of opportunity was the same as when he had been in the eternal world at the end of the Fiend God battlefield. If Mosquito Dowrin wanted to advance to primordial chaos, it would be a smooth journey as long as there were enough resources. However, there were enough resources. Sometimes, not only was quantity needed, but quality was also needed. This was especially so when it came to advancing from a quasi-sage to primordial chaos. There was no need to think about quantitative change triggering qualitative change. If he wanted to reach the level of a primordial cardinal treasure, even if he collected all the 3,000 worlds of the immortal world, it would not be enough, even if he added the void god world and the immortal world. Therefore, a primordial cardinal treasure was a must. It was difficult to find it in other worlds, and even if it was found, it would be difficult to get it. The only way to get it was probably the immortal world and the eternal world. In the eternal world, there was no shortage of primordial cardinal treasures in the divine demon treasury, but the number of contribution points needed was too high. The immortal world was still better. The highest level here was at the Zenith Heaven realm. If he found the right opportunity, the chance of getting the gate of eternal life was not in the bag, but at least 70%. Of course, Fang Qingshan could first improve the cultivation of himself and the world tree avatar, and even the grade of the timeless Arkansas. After reaching a certain level, he would return the favor to Mosquito Dowrin. However, compared to Mosquito Dorn's advancement, it was more difficult for them. Therefore, Fong Qingshan was determined to get the gate of eternal life. Putting this aside for the time being, after Fong Qingshan's cultivation broke through, he naturally would not stay in seclusion. When he came out of the Timeless Ark and saw Fong Qingxue and the flourishing scene of the Five Elements sect, he could not help but nod in satisfaction. With the current situation, the sun and moon void, and the means he left behind, as long as the descendants of the Fong family and the Five Elements sect did not court death themselves, they could be guaranteed to live a peaceful life. Now that all these arrangements had been made, the next step was to prepare for the ascension. In addition to Fong Qingshan, Fong Qingxue, Fong Han, Fong Qingwei, Fong Zitao, Fong Zeshan, and other members of the Fong family, there was also a group of people who hitched a ride with Venerable Ling Long, Fong Baiyu, and others. Next, are we going to directly communicate with the gate of the immortal realm and ascend, or sneak in? Everyone gathered together to discuss the matter of ascension. Of course, sneak in. After all, we have offended the heavenly Lord of Calamity. If we take the normal route, we will definitely be hit in the head. What is the heavenly Lord of Calamity? With the sect master around, why would we be afraid of him? That's right. Although he has a great reputation, he is just a paper tiger. No. The heavenly Lord of Calamity is suppressed by the heaven and earth. He is not doing it himself. Moreover, the immortal realm is his territory. He is not fighting alone. The two parties could not help but discuss how to enter the immortal realm. For Fong Qingshan, whether it was sneaking in or entering openly, there was actually no problem. With his cultivation, he was really not afraid of the heavenly Lord of Calamity and the others. Even if he could not defeat them, he could still escape. If he was anxious, he could directly summon the Timeless Ark and make them suffer. The key was Fong Qingxue and the others. The heavenly Lord of Calamity's influence in the immortal realm was too great. Their strength was not as strong as him, so they could advance and retreat freely. If he was not by their side, they would be easily taken down by the heavenly Lord of Calamity and the others. Even if they did not personally take action, their subordinates were enough to chase them everywhere. Forget it. Let's directly ascend. In the end, Fong Qingshan made the decision. Anyway, he was no longer afraid of the heavenly Lord of Calamity and the others. Moreover, this group of people was quite talented. Why not reopen the mountain gate in the immortal realm and establish the Five Elements sect? Not only could he solve their worries, but he could also develop the Five Elements sect quickly with them. At the same time, he could open the way for the Five Elements sect in the Black-Yellow Great World. Chapter 672, Celestial World, Heavenly Court, a mysterious space-time above the sky. Tens of thousands of golden lights rolled red. Thousands of auspicious chi spewed purple mist. Outside, there were marshals and generals holding mounds, and below, there were heavenly soldiers and generals holding halberds and whips. Inside, there were long bridges and waves, no clouds, no rainbow, no sky, no rainbow. Golden nails gathered in the jade house. Colorful phoenixes danced in the vermilion gate. Heavenly concubines held a fan, and jade maidens held immortal scarves. There were thousands of years of famous flowers, evergreen, auspicious grass. It was the residence of an immortal, the center of the world. The Fortune Celestial Court was the symbol of the era when the Fortune Celestial King ruled the heaven realm. Even now, the Celestial King was gone. The Heavenly Court was still one of the oldest and most powerful forces in the heaven realm. No one dared to underestimate it, not to mention the few ancient heavenly lords who were in charge of the Fortune Celestial Court. Not to mention the damaged Fortune Celestial weapon left by the Fortune Celestial King, the 33 Heavens Treasure. Not to mention that the Fortune Celestial King was not dead. The Heavenly Court alone was enough to make people fearful. First of all, to reach the Heavenly Court One needed to fly to the ninth heaven, pass through the astral winds and thunderstorms, endless space storms, and space-time secret caves. Not to mention the guards of the heavenly court. The entire heavenly court was a minor kiliocosm, filled with all kinds of restrictions, forming a perfect formation. Although it was not comparable to top formations such as the Nine Bends Yellow River Formation and the Yin and Yang Dust Sword Formation, but in the immortal world, it was the highest level of existence. Once it was activated, hundreds of millions of restrictions would erupt, making it impregnable. Not to mention the attack of a heavenly lord. Even an immortal king could hold on for a while. Let's not talk about all of this for now. At this moment, the originally calm Fortune heavenly court was already surging with undercurrents. And the cause of all this was the heavenly lord of calamity. As the oldest heavenly lord, the heavenly lord of calamity was the best choice in terms of scheming and strength. He blocked the transmission of information between the heaven realm and the lower realm, and plotted against the timeless Arkansas. It was foolproof and did not arouse the suspicion of the other heavenly lords. Unfortunately, he did not expect Fong Qingshan to be so powerful. He had a heavenly lord avatar and 2 king-grade immortal weapons, but he failed miserably and did not even save his life. Not only did the main body fail to save the clone, but it also attracted the attention of others. Coupled with the fact that his clone was destroyed and his main body was heavily injured, it was impossible to keep the news under wraps. He might be able to hide it from others, but to the eternal heavenly lord, the Thunder Emperor, and the others, who were also in charge of the heavenly court, their destinies were interlinked, so there was no way he could hide it from them. At that moment, the eternal heavenly lord, the Thunder Emperor, and the other 2 heavenly lords were gathered at the heavenly lord of calamity's residence. Without saying a word, they simply looked at the heavenly lord of calamity in silence. Chaos, massacre, the Thunder Emperor, the Eternal, and the others looked like clay bodhisattvas. Calamity's expression was uncertain. Although he had failed, he still wanted to borrow the power of the heavenly court and a few of them to take revenge and snatch the timeless Arkansas. However, compared to monopolizing the supreme treasure of fortune by himself, he still felt a little uncomfortable, not to mention being forced into a corner. However, he knew that even if he wasn't injured, it wouldn't be realistic for him to plot against the eternal heavenly vessel in a one-on-one fight. Furthermore, they were already suspecting him. Although they hadn't interrogated him, it was clear what they were thinking. After a moment of silence, the heavenly lord of calamity was also a decisive person. He adjusted his mood and told them everything about Fong Qingshan and the timeless Arkansas. What? The supreme treasure of fortune? Chaos, massacre, the Thunder Emperor, the eternal heavenly lord, and the others couldn't help but turn pale when they heard the heavenly lord of calamity's words. The supreme treasure of fortune was the standard of an immortal king, and it was the true foundation of a great force. The reason why the heavenly court of fortune was able to stand tall and become one of the most powerful forces after the immortal king of fortune's absence was that, apart from the few heavenly lords, the most important thing was the supreme treasure of the 33 heavens. Although this supreme treasure had been destroyed by the gate of eternal life, it still maintained the majesty of the heavenly court of fortune. Over the years, countless heavenly lords who tried to provoke the heavenly court of fortune had been killed by the supreme treasure of the 33 heavens. This was only a broken supreme treasure. When it was at its peak, it had even helped the immortal king of fortune suppress the heaven realm for an era. There were only a handful of such supreme treasures, and they all had owners. Moreover, their owners were all well-known figures. The Stone of 3 Lives, the treasure of the primordial demon lord, the axe of nature, the weapon of the sacred king of the Protoss, the gourd of heaven and earth, the treasure of the master of heaven and earth, the mirror of myth, refined by the old man of myth. Even if there were some that didn't have an owner, they were basically wandering in the void and no one knew where they went. But now, what did they hear? Another supreme treasure of fortune had appeared. Most importantly, It had fallen into the hands of a nobody like Fong Qing-shan, who wasn't even a heavenly lord. How could they tolerate this? I didn't expect that in addition to the Electro Mother, Heavenly Lord, and Fong Han, there would be an even bigger variable like Fong Qing-shan in the lower realm. Moreover, I didn't expect them to be a family. It's really true that people who aren't family don't enter the same door. The Thunder Emperor, Heavenly Lord, lamented. Hee, I was wondering why you were so sneaky some time ago. It turns out that you wanted to take the supreme treasure of fortune for yourself. Unfortunately, man proposes, God disposes. In the end, you've suffered a double loss. The eternal Heavenly Lord mocked the Heavenly Lord of Calamity. The same goes for you. How much better do you think you are? The Heavenly Lord of Calamity sneered. All right, now is not the time to talk about this. The most important thing now is how to snatch the timeless Arkansas. The Heavenly Lord of Massacre interrupted the exchange of mockery between the Heavenly Lord of Calamity and the Eternal Heavenly Lord. If we can obtain this supreme treasure and comprehend it, we might even be able to reach the Immortal King realm. Moreover, even if we don't break through, with a complete supreme treasure of fortune, our fortune heavenly court can restore the glory of the Immortal King realm in one fell swoop. Even if an Immortal King comes, we won't be afraid. Hearing this, the 5 heavenly lords could not help but feel their blood boil. There are 3 problems now. After calming down, the chaotic heavenly lord said, First, according to Calamity, the timeless arc is very powerful and not easy to deal with. Second, we must block the news and not let others know. Otherwise, it will be easy to complicate matters. Last but not least, we must keep an eye on Fong Qing-shan and the others. Once they ascend, we will immediately take action to prevent any undue delay. That's a wise saying. The Thunder Emperor nodded in agreement. Although the heavenly ship is powerful, with the 5 of us and the precious treasures of the 33 heavens, there will definitely be no mistakes. The only problem is that we have to act quickly. We have to settle the situation before the other influences can react. That's right. The most important thing now is for Calamity to recover from his injuries as soon as possible and then pay close attention to those who ascend. Once we find Fong Qing-shan, we will immediately take action. With common interests and goals, the 5 heavenly lords discussed one after another and came up with a plan to wait for the enemy to be exhausted and strike with lightning speed. Chapter 673. Although Fong Qing-shan didn't know that the 5 heavenly lords of the heavenly court were plotting against him, and that they didn't even hesitate to use the 33 heavens' good fortune treasure, he had already expected it. Forget about revenge. Just the timeless arc alone was enough for the Lord of Calamity to not give it up. As such, it was reasonable for him to use any kind of method. However, Fong Qing-shan didn't care at all. Everything stemmed from strength. Now that he, Mosquito Dowrin, and the World Tree Avatar had advanced to Golden Immortal at the same time, together with Cheong-chi, who had fully recovered for Golden Immortals, even if they did not use the Timeless Arc, with their strength, even if they could not defeat the 5 calamities, it would be wishful thinking for them to keep him here. Thus, Fong Qing-shan wasn't afraid of them at all. If worst came to worst, he would just have to use the Timeless Arkansas. At that time, even if the Fortune Immortal King came out, it would be useless. Therefore, they didn't even think about hiding or sneaking in. They just wanted to ascend openly. He still wanted to make a name for himself in the immortal world and establish the immortal world's 5 elemental sect, so that he could continue to collect providence and wish energy for himself. As one's cultivation increased, the amount of karmic luck and power of will required would increase. It was better to prepare for a rainy day as early as possible, lest one's cultivation level increase in the future was hindered by the lack of resources. Xianwang Great World, Sun Moon Void, 5 Elements Sect. On this day, basically all the famous people in the Black-Yellow Great World had come. Even the people from the great forces of the other great worlds had sent their mainstays to present gifts and observe the ceremony. The reason for this was naturally because today was the day that Fong Qing-shan and the others would ascend. The sun and the moon rose together, and the drums and music sounded together. Red clothes, white feathers, yellow crowns, the golden boy and jade girl were on the treasure steps. They were solemn and respectful, orderly and orderly. On the viewing platform, there was a golden table, a jadeite chair, and a painting that dragged on the floor. Banners fluttered in the wind, canopies stood tall, and there was a rich fragrance. The entire Xianwang Great World was filled with strange phenomena. Below the big magic shell beat the big magic drum. Flowers fell from the sky, and golden lotuses emerged from the ground. Auspicious air came, and auspicious light twined around it. One figure after another appeared. Some were ancient, some were mysterious, and some were majestic. They were all figures who had left their mark in the Xuanhuan Great World. They appeared in unison to congratulate Fang Qingshan and his group. One sealed character after another appeared, changed, combined, and condensed into divinatory diagrams one after another. Moral essays were written one after another, cheering for Fang Qingshan and the others. This was a celebration from heaven and earth. How many years has it been? I can finally ascend to the immortal world. That's right. I've waited for so many years and experienced so many trials and tribulations. I never thought that this day would really come. This is all thanks to Sect Master's blessings. Raising his head, his eyes lit up like torches. It was as if he could see a vast and majestic world in the depths of the endless space-time. That was a higher-level space-time, where the laws of the world were more complete, the world was more stable, and the Yuan Qi was more abundant. It was a treasured land for cultivation. Except for Venerable Ling Long, Feng Baiyu, and Fang Han, the other people who were going to ascend with Fang Qingshan were very excited. Not to mention the people involved. Even the spectators were very excited at this moment. It had been many years since anyone had ascended to the immortal world. Moreover, it was not just one person, but a group of people. A group of people ascended to the immortal world. Even those who had backing and strength in the heavenly world couldn't help but feel envious when they saw Feng Baiyu, the Star Lord, and the others. They wished they could replace him. I didn't expect that I would be able to ascend openly one day. Looking at Fang Qingshan, Fang Qingshu, I couldn't help but sigh. That's right. In the past, I didn't dare to ascend at all. Even if I did, I only thought of sneaking in. I never thought that thanks to Alliance Master's blessings, I could ascend openly. Venerable Ling Long also said with mixed feelings. Fang Qingxue was the Electro-Mother Heaven Monarch. Venerable Ling Long was related to the primordial Taoist. Fang Han was an oddity who had obtained the inheritance of the Yellow Spring Grand Emperor and the Reincarnation Taoist. Feng Baiyu had the Holy King of Termination hidden in his body. If it wasn't for the fact that they were in the lower realm, they wouldn't have had the chance to grow. They would have long been turned into ashes by the people in the immortal world. Now that they followed Fang Qingshan and survived the Great Tribulation, their cultivation base improved greatly, and they didn't need to hide anymore. Although these people had their own trump cards, they couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Yes, in their eyes, Fang Qingshan was an incomparably huge towering tree. Even if he couldn't compare to the primordial Taoist, the Holy King of Termination was probably not far behind. After all, more than one heavenly lord had died in the hands of Fang Qingshan. More importantly, he still had the supreme treasure, the timeless Arkansas Venerable Ling Long, Feng Baiyu, and the others were all knowledgeable people. If Heavenly Consort Wu Mo and the others could see some clues, why couldn't they? However, in the end, they still underestimated the true power and potential of the timeless Arkansas. If Fang Qingxue saw it, she would definitely be sure that the timeless Ark was not inferior to the gate of eternal life. In fact, they couldn't be blamed. After all, their knowledge was limited. A destinable immortal artifact was already rare, not to mention the gate of eternal life, which had a unique attribute. Let's go. At a certain moment, Fang Qingshan called out, and with a thought, he released his aura. When the others saw this, they naturally followed his example. For a moment, a brilliant heavenly light soared into the sky like smoke, like a great rock spreading its wings, tearing through the void and soaring into the sky. At this moment, it was as if all the light in the world was obscured. Only a vast purple-green aura filled the air, like blades and swords illuminating the sky. Rumble. For a moment, the gate of the immortal world descended with a loud rumble. Fine immortal light poured out of it, inhaling and exhaling clouds. A strong fragrance lingered for a long time, and the fragrance lingered endlessly. A beam of celestial light descended and enveloped everyone within it. This time, Fong Qingshan and the others did not resist and let the immortal light fall. Then, they took a reluctant look at the black-yellow great world and the five elements sect. The sky and earth spun, and when they looked again, the stars had already moved. The black-yellow great world was like an egg, becoming smaller and smaller in everyone's eyes. In the end, it turned into an ordinary star and finally disappeared from everyone's eyes. However, before they could sigh, the autumn wind blew. Today, the world had changed. Time and space were reversed, and heaven and earth changed. It was unknown whether thousands of years had passed, or if it was just a moment, but everyone had already arrived in a strange place. The mountains were like dragons, the great lake was like the sea, and the spirit chi was like rain. Time and space were stable, and the rules were meticulous. Everyone felt their bodies become heavy, and their breathing became rough. It was as if they were being suppressed by heaven and earth. In fact, it was not heaven and earth that was suppressing them. It was just that they had come from a low-level world to a high-level world, and they were not used to it. After all, when they were in the lower realm, they were all giants and could tear space with one hand. But here they were not. Not to say they were ants. Space was stable. Not to mention tearing space, even the speed of flying was greatly reduced. Chapter 674. Immortal World, Heavenly Court. With the help of the other four and the endless supply of healing pills and spirit items, Immortal Monarch Calamity recovered to his peak state in the shortest time possible. After recovering, the five of them went to the observatory and waited quietly. On the Heaven Observation platform, there was a Heaven Observation treasure mirror, just like the Hao-Ian treasure mirror in the Heavenly Court of Desolation. Looking up at the 33 heavens and looking down at the 9 underworlds, it was used to monitor the heavens. The material was neither gold nor jade, and at first glance, there was a faint green light. The tadpole-like ancient seal scripts and the shapes of cloud dragons and strange birds on its back seemed to be bulging, but there was no trace of it when touched. It was neither engraved nor painted, and it went deep into the bone. It looked like it only had one side, but the surface of the mirror was protruding, as if there were thousands upon thousands of sides, allowing it to observe space-time from different angles and planes. In the Heavenly Court, it was rare to even see the Heavenly Lord, let alone the Heavenly Lord. Now, not only had the Lord of Heaven appeared, but a few of them had also appeared at the same time. Although the people of Heavenly Court didn't know the specifics, they didn't need to think to know that something big had happened. Otherwise, why would the 5 Lords of Heaven show up at the same time and stay at the observatory for a while and not leave? For a moment, the entire Heavenly Court's atmosphere became heavy. An undercurrent was surging. Although the Heavenly Monarch of Calamity and the others had managed the Heavenly Court like an iron bucket, it was hard to tell what was in a man's heart. There would inevitably be spies from other forces. After noticing their unusual movements, he wanted to spread the news. Unfortunately, Calamity and the others were already prepared for this. Not only did the news not get out, but his whereabouts were also exposed. He hadn't gotten his hands on the Timeless Ark yet. Instead, he had cleaned up the Heavenly Court, which was a pleasant surprise. On this day, a pattern as fine as frost suddenly appeared on the heaven-gazing treasure mirror. Then, there was a sound like firecrackers. The 5 people who were sitting cross-legged with their eyes closed suddenly opened their eyes. They stood up and instantly arrived before the heaven-viewing mirror. They stared at the situation on it. However, it turned out that someone was ascending. It was just that the commotion was too big. Their figures were indistinct, and their Xian Qi soared into the sky. Powerful energy surged violently. Calamity and the others were overjoyed when they saw this. Of course, the reason why they were happy was not because of the appearance of another group of experts in the heaven realm. This group of people was none other than Fang Qingshan and the others. Arrogant. In his joy, immortal monarch Calamity could not help but sneer. Did he think that by relying on the timeless arc and defeating a heavenly master clone, he was invincible? He actually dared to ascend so openly and cause such a huge commotion. Let's go. Let's attack together. There's no time to lose. We have to suppress him with lightning speed, seize the eternal heavenly vessel, and return to the heavenly court. After that, we have to be on guard against other powers. That's how it should be. Go! With a thought, Calamity, Eternal, Massacre, Chaos, and Thunder Emperor instantly appeared where Fang Qingshan and the others had appeared. Fang Qingshan had just entered the immortal world and hadn't even stabilized his footing when he suddenly felt a great sense of danger surging towards him. If one were to look at Fang Qingshan's face right now, one would discover that there was a black aura between his brows, and tribulation aura was surging above his head. This was clearly the sign of a calamity approaching. Moreover, the calamity was not a small one. Fang Qingshan had already expected this situation, so he did not panic. With a wave of his hand, he took Fang Han, Fang Qingxue, Venerable Ling Long, and the others into the world of the Oceanic Divine Pearl. Then he exchanged a glance with Mosquito, Daoran, and Xiong Qi, quietly waiting for the arrival of Calamity and the others. Fang Qingshan did not have to wait for long. The moment he put Ling Long and the others away, Calamity and the others had already arrived. Swoosh! 5 rainbows flashed across the sky like meteors falling to the ground. 5 figures instantly materialized and surrounded Fang Qingshan and the others. Calamity, Eternal, Massacre, Chaos, and Thunder Emperor. The 5 people's imposing manner joined together and swept towards Fang Qingshan with an earth-shattering momentum. If it was someone with a lower cultivation base, they would not even need to make a move. Just their imposing manner alone would be enough to destroy them. Apart from Calamity's unfriendly gaze, the other 4 people looked at Fang Qingshan in the same way they looked at the Boy of Wealth. Hand over the timeless Arkansas. That way, we can let the others go and leave you with a whole corpse. The Thunder Emperor, the Heavenly Lord, was high and mighty like an immortal looking down on mortals. He spoke in a tone of charity. Upon hearing that, Fang Qingshan did not even look at him. Instead, he turned his head and smiled at the Heavenly Lord of Calamity. We meet again. That's right. I've said it before. When we meet again, we'll settle old and new grudges. The Heavenly Lord of Calamity stared at Fang Qingshan. The coldness in his eyes seemed to be able to freeze the world. How many years had it been? Even before the immortal king went into seclusion, he had not suffered such a great loss. Not only did he lose the opportunity to enjoy the timeless arc alone, but he also lost face in front of the eternal Heavenly Lord and the others. For this, how could he not hate him to the bone? You're courting death. On the other side, the Thunder Emperor, seeing that Fang Qingshan was ignoring him, was instantly enraged. Although he was not an ancient Heavenly Lord, but an expert born in this era like the Electromother Heavenly Lord, his true strength was not inferior to other Heavenly Lords who had survived the apocalypse. Otherwise, how could he be on par with the Heavenly Lord of Calamity and the others? Especially since he cultivated the Thunder Arts and was the guardian of the Heavenly Realm's laws, he valued dignity the most. Now that he had been humiliated by Fang Qingshan, how could he not be angry? All right, time is of the essence. Let's not waste time. Let's attack together. The eternal Heavenly Lord said. Although they had used the treasure of the 33 heavens to conceal the heavenly secrets, the longer they delayed, the easier it would be for other problems to arise. Are you sure you could defeat me? Fang Qingshan looked at the 5 people who were determined to defeat him. He exchanged a glance with Xiongqi and Mosquito Daoran and smiled faintly. The 3 of them released their auras at the same time. The aura of an immortal golden immortal swept in all directions. It's just the eternal heavenly lord, and the others thought that Fang Qingshan was going to say something. Seeing that he was relying on his cultivation, they could not help but laugh. Although his cultivation was not bad, he had not reached the heavenly lord realm. Even if he had reached it, he would not stand a chance against the five of them. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. Before the eternal heavenly lord and the others could start mocking him, the heavenly lord of calamity roared. When he first met Fang Qingshan, he was only an earth immortal. Now, he had jumped 3 levels and reached the golden immortal level. He was only 1 step away from the heavenly lord realm. This was even faster than the rock spreading its wings. How could he not be shocked? More importantly, when he was an earth immortal, Fang Qingshan could easily crush his doppelganger by summoning the timeless Arkansas. Now that his cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds, wouldn't he be even more powerful? At this thought, the heavenly lord of calamity could not help but feel gloomy. Chapter 675. What's going on? Seeing the disbelief on Calamity's face and the trace of uneasiness on his face, the Eternal Emperor and the others couldn't help but put on a serious expression and hurriedly asked. The last time I met him, he was only an immortal. But now, he's almost comparable to a heaven lord. Calamity Monarch explained with a gloomy expression. What? That's impossible. The first reaction of Eternal and the others was disbelief. From an immortal to a heaven lord, one had to go through 7 realms. Mystic immortal, golden immortal, ancestral immortal, virtual immortal, saint immortal, peerless immortal, and longevity with heaven and earth. Although some people had accumulated a lot of experience and had no problem advancing 3 levels in a row. But under normal circumstances, it was only the same realm. For example, someone who had just entered the Heaven Lord realm had to go through the early, middle, and late stages to reach the peak of the Heaven Lord realm. Even if one was a proud son of heaven, it was already the limit for one to advance 3 major realms. But Fang Qingshan's situation was simply unbelievable. Not only did he advance 3 major realms, but he also advanced 7 times in a row. How could they believe that? Most importantly, under normal circumstances, advancing 3 levels in a row could cause one's realm to be unstable. But Fang Qingshan's advancement did not affect his foundation at all. Most importantly, Fang Qingshan could use the timeless arc to destroy Calamity's Heaven Lord clone with 2 King Great Immortal artifacts when he was only an immortal. Now that his cultivation had increased so much, how much more powerful would his combat power be? At this thought, Eternal and the others finally understood why Calamity Monarch looked like he had opened a dye shop. There was disbelief, jealousy, uneasiness, and hatred. All of them could not help but look solemn. Don't worry, everyone. His strength is not worth mentioning. Whether he's an immortal, a heaven lord, or even a heavenly lord, so what? Chaotic heavenly monarch came to his senses and said solemnly. The key is still that timeless Arkansas. After a pause, seeing that everyone was listening attentively, he continued. He has the timeless Arkansas. Don't we have the 33 heavens supreme treasure? Given the strength of their heaven lord to activate the timeless arc, how could it compare to the 5 of us activating the good fortune treasure? Therefore, there's no need to worry at all. Our only problem, as I mentioned earlier, is that we need to act quickly. We need to take down the timeless arc before anyone else can react and retreat to the heavenly court to defend ourselves. After listening to the primal chaos heavenly lord's explanation, they were determined people to begin with. Their previous worries were only because the eternal heavenly ship was a supreme treasure of fortune. It was too important to them, and they were too concerned about it. Now that the Chaos Heavenly Lord had given them some pointers, they came back to their senses, looked at each other, and began to fight. Even a lion would use its full strength to capture a rabbit, especially since although they were lions, Fang Qingshan was not a rabbit. Most importantly, they had another idea, which was to fight speed with speed. It would be best if they could prevent Fang Qingshan from even having a chance to summon the timeless Arkansas. This way, not only would the consumption be small, after all, it was not easy for them to use the supreme treasure of fortune. Moreover, the movement would be small, which was the key. Otherwise, if two supreme treasures of fortune clashed, the entire immortal realm would know. Moreover, if it really came down to using the supreme treasure of fortune, they would be the final victors, but the timing would be out of their control. If the battle dragged on, it would give other factions like the Origin Dynasty and the Sacred Ground of Truth time to react. That would really be troublesome. It was even possible that when the Sandpiper and the Clam fought, the fishermen would reap the benefits, benefiting others for nothing. Therefore, Calamity and the others attacked with all their might, moving as quickly as they could. Eternal immovable technique of true self. Eternal Heavenly Lord made the first move. Fang Qingshan had seen Supreme Emperor Heaven use this mystique before, but in the hands of Eternal Heavenly Lord, it was a completely different story. It was like the difference between a firefly and the bright moon. If not for the 33 skies concealing the heavenly secrets, his actions alone would have alarmed most of the heavenly realm. But as soon as the immortal technique was used, its power radiated outwards, shaking the space around it. The mighty power sealed the heavens and locked the earth, solidifying the space around it like metal. Time completely stopped, no longer flowing. Eternally unmoving. Only I am real, and everyone else is an illusion. In an instant, Fang Qingshan and the others seemed to be locked in mid-air, and even breathing was a little difficult. Compared to the Great Seal technique, this technique was more like time and space stopping. Calamity Redemption, Sovereign Great Tao. Following closely behind was Heavenly Lord Calamity. Previously, Fang Qingshan had just seen it, but when it was used by the clone and the main body, the difference was like heaven and earth. It wasn't just power, realm, experience. Everything was different. An emperor ruled the world, holding a huge cudgel in one hand, gathering endless calamities. Anyone who didn't listen to his orders would be met with calamities, and those who went against him would die. With one hand, he sprinkled rain. To those who submitted to him, were loyal to him, and performed meritorious deeds, he rewarded them generously. Calamity, redemption, perfect transformation, just like the primordial Tai Chi. But once the balance was broken, the explosive power was imaginable. Lightning nurturing emperor, great power. This was a lightning diagram, and when it landed, it was like a galaxy sweeping across. There were ordinary palm lightning, 5-elemental lightning, high-grade heavenly dipper lightning, earthly lightning, lightning weapons, lightning arrows, lightning spikes, lightning spirits, lightning dragons, lightning phoenixes, lightning rocks, and even humans. There were all kinds of forms. Most importantly, in the center of the lightning diagram, there was a palace, a lightning pool, and a thunder emperor. It suppressed down, like the power of countless worlds gathered together, forming a sure kill technique. Slaughter birth of all emptiness divine form. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of swords rang out incessantly. Sword chi swept across the boundless space, and a single sword light froze the ages. The Heaven Monarch of Massacre's attack was very simple. His sharp sword was like a flying immortal that didn't carry any worldly aura. However, it seemed to be able to separate heaven and earth, yin and yang, and judge good and evil. Only life and death were left. Chaotic bright, supreme battle heaven. The last to attack was the chaotic Heavenly Lord. This was a chaotic colored heaven that seemed to be infinite in size, covering billions of worlds. It was also like a speck of dust, undetectable. This wasn't just a mystic art. There seemed to be a mighty force imbuing this Tao technique. This was the power of the true chaotic heaven that the chaotic Heavenly Lord had created. In an instant, the 5 Heavenly Lords attacked with all their might, even using the Saint-grade immortal weapons in their hands. A Saint-grade immortal weapon was equivalent to the power of a Heavenly Lord. 5 Heavenly Lords 5 saint-grade immortal weapons. That was equivalent to 10 heavenly lords attacking at the same time. Moreover, they had worked together for almost an epoch, so their power couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. In an instant, heaven and earth shook, stars moved, dragons and snakes rose, and time and space were destroyed. Even the 33 heavens, supreme treasures of creation, couldn't hide their movements. Chapter 676. Does the Taoist have a way to fight back? Fang Qingshan asked Xiongqi with a smile when he saw the 5 heavenly lords attacking at the same time. As for Mosquito Daoran, it was needless to say. In terms of combat power, if Fang Qingshan did not use his treasures, he would definitely be the one to die in the end. As for Xiongqi, although it was a golden immortal, Fang Qingshan was still a bit worried. After all, the Heavenly Lord's cultivation level was higher than theirs. Don't worry, child. I dare not say that I can defeat it, but I can easily hold it back, Xiongqi said confidently. After all, it was one of the 4 furies of heaven and earth. In terms of combat power, it was also one of the best. Fang Qingshan had taken advantage of it when its cultivation level had dropped. However, there was a blessing in disguise. First of all, it was like Fang Qingshan recultivating. His foundation was more solid, and his combat power was far from what it used to be. Furthermore, by following Fang Qingshan, Xiongqi had obtained countless secret techniques and skills. It did not create a new all-heaven Dao proving art like Fang Qingshan. However, it had benefited a lot from combining it with its own inheritance. Since that's the case, let's attack together, Fang Qingshan said with a smile. Okay, Xiongqi responded and took the lead. Arrow of Sin. As soon as he said that, Xiongqi used its body as a bow and turned its essence, qi, and soul into an arrow. It pulled the bow and loaded the arrow. A sharp arrow intent was instantly integrated into the arrow. Poof! Powerful strength, shocking Dharma power, sharp arrow intent. The arrow shot out and shocked the world. The overbearing arrow intent was like a black hole, crazily devouring the power of sin between heaven and earth. It turned into an incomparably huge Qiongqi. Its body emitted dense flames, causing people to shudder with just a glance. That was because the flames were the red lotus karmic fire. Qiongqi was a combination of a heavenly god, a monster, and an evil man. It was a strange creature whose true face could not be seen. It was the symbol of evil. This arrow of sin was a shocking divine ability that he had created by combining his own conditions and drawing on the strengths of others. Since Qiongqi had made a move, Mosquito Daoran would naturally not fall behind. Blood sea floods the sky. Following Mosquito Daoran's roar, a wave of blood-red light surged over like a tidal wave. In the blink of an eye, a sea of blood was formed. Walala! Torrential waves of blood instantly enveloped tens of thousands of miles of the void, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. Countless amounts of blood roared, tumbled, and surged like waves, one after another, each higher than the last. Not only did the blood sea possess immense power, but it also possessed a terrifying corrosive power. Even space-time could not withstand its erosion. What was even more coincidental was that the blood sea and Xiongqi's arrow of sin were actually very compatible with each other. It was as if they were a combination skill. The fire actually took advantage of the wind, and the wind helped the fire burn. This was a pleasant surprise. However, it was understandable when one thought about it. The blood sea was the most filthy existence in the world, and the arrow of sin also gathered the evil aura in the world. The two of them were like tortoises looking at mung beans, and they fell in love. When dry wood met fire, there would be a chemical reaction. To deal with a heavenly lord, one must at least have the cultivation base of a golden immortal. On Fang Qingshan's side, apart from Mosquito Daoran and Xiongqi, the only one who had the cultivation base of a golden immortal was Fang Qingshan's World Tree clone. However, although the World Tree clone's cultivation base had broken through to the golden immortal level, it was still devouring the half of the World Tree in the Celestial Fiend Treasury, striving to break through to the primordial immortal level as soon as possible, so it was not good to disturb it. Besides, even with the World Tree clone, there were only 4 golden immortals. Their cultivation base was not as good as theirs to begin with, and with one less person, it would be even more difficult. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan still had the I Chi Sanqing divine power. With a shake of his shoulders, 2 clones, one black and one white, walked out of his body. Appearance, aura, cultivation base, experience. Everything was the same as Fang Qingshan's. 5 elements bracelet. The white clone waved his hand, and a bracelet flew out. The item was 5-colored, condensed into a diamond, and there were golden seal scripts inside, evolving the 5 elements, constantly rearranging and then destroying. It had a miraculous effect, whether it was used to take people or objects, or as a brick to smash people. This was the first natural divine power that Fang Qingshan had cultivated after cultivating the Earth Deity chapter. 5 elements, divine needle of destruction. The black clone was still using the divine power that he relied on the most in the past. However, after 3 days of separation, people would have to look at it with new eyes. Moreover, after dispersing his cultivation and recultivating, under the subtle influence of the primordial purple chi and the 5-element spirit pearl, this divine power had been improved by Fang Qingshan to the point that it was not weaker than the natural divine power. Clang! There was a loud cry of peacock. However, behind the black clone, a multicolored peacock materialized. The feathers on its back spread out, and the peacock spread its tail. In an instant, it seemed like the most beautiful moment in the world. Beams of divine light shot out, colorful and incomparably beautiful. However, beautiful things were often very dangerous. The divine light was incomparably sharp. It tore through the void and engulfed everything in all directions. Bathed in the divine light, even time and space were shot into a sieve, and even karma turned into thick water. 5-element cone. Fang Qingshan's main body used the second natural divine power that he had cultivated after cultivating the Golden Deity chapter. However, the laws of the 5 elements surged in front of Fang Qingshan, and in an instant, they condensed into a cone that looked like a dart. It shone with 5-colored brilliance, and it was crystal clear like a crystal diamond. Fang Qingshan tapped lightly and disappeared on the spot without a sound. When he revealed his true body again, he had already collided with the attack of the Heavenly Lord of Disaster. This was a divine power that Fang Qingshan had cultivated by combining it with the mouth of the mosquito Dauren. It was invincible, and its attack was unparalleled. It was best for attacking. Moreover, because the attack was silent, it could even retract the 5-colored brilliance on it. The combination of the 5 elements would form chaos, and the light would be dim and not eye-catching. It was also the best choice for sneak attacks. Of course, the Heavenly Lord of Eternal and the others' divine powers were combined with their own sage, immortal artifacts. Naturally, it was impossible for Fang Qingshan and the others to not use their numinous treasures. The 5 elements bracelet was paired with the 5 elements spirit pearl, the 5 elements cone with the sun and moon pearl, the 5 elements extermination needle with the dusk lamp, the sky blood sea with the mystic essence water control flag, and the sinful arrow with the spring of all evil. Among them, although the dusk lamp and the spring of all evil were not as good as the 5-element spirit pearl, they were still superior grade connate numinous treasures. 5 golden immortals, 5 top-notch numinous treasures. Together with the combination of Mosquito Doran's divine power and Xiongqi's divine power, Fang Qingshan and the other 2 had their minds and minds as one, and their power was multiplied. In an instant, the attacks from both sides collided. Terrifying tides were formed, and millions of space-time planes collapsed in an instant. At this moment, the treasures of the 33 heavens were also shaken, and a hole was torn open. The aura fell, and it could no longer conceal the secrets of heaven for them. The deafening sound was like the explosion of a nuclear weapon in the mortal world, and it directly shattered the entire sky. The huge commotion naturally alarmed everyone in the heavenly realm. Chapter 677. The Holy Land of Truth. What happened? The moment the heavenly monarch of calamity and the others made their move, the experts from the universal truth sacred land had already sensed it. That's not right. Why can't I calculate anything? Unfortunately, because the 33 heavens supreme good fortune treasure concealed the secrets of the heavens, nothing could be calculated. The experts from the universal truth sacred land were naturally unwilling to accept this. They could vaguely sense that this matter was no small matter and was very important to them. When Fang Qingshan's group of 5 and the 5 heavenly monarchs' attacks collided with each other, shaking the 33 heavens treasures and causing their auras to leak out, they finally figured out what was going on. It turned out that immortal Lord Calamity and the others were dealing with a person called Fang Qingshan. The people from the universal truth sacred land were naturally puzzled by this. It should be known that the 5 immortal monarchs of calamity were all figures who stood at the top of the pyramid in the heaven realm. They were working together to deal with a person who had just ascended. It would be strange if there wasn't a ghost involved. Moreover, when they were calculating Fang Qingshan, they realized that apart from some basic information, they couldn't calculate anything else. This made them even more puzzled. The most important thing was that the heavenly monarch of calamity and the others had actually used a destinable immortal artifact to conceal the heavenly secrets. It could be said that the heavenly monarch of calamity and the others had exposed themselves. Could it be that calamity and the others are plotting something? At the thought of this, the experts from a universal truth sacred land could no longer sit still. They immediately gathered their men and rushed over to the place where Fang Qingshan and the others were fighting. In the legends of the heaven realm, the 3 great immortal kings, truth, origin, and creation, each of them created an existence similar to the heavenly court. The creation immortal king founded the heavenly court, while the truth immortal king founded the truth sacred grounds. The origin immortal king was rumored to have founded the origin dynasty. These 3 factions each occupied a region, and they fought each other openly and covertly. He could not bear to see the other party gain any benefits, but if he could scam the other party, he would be more than happy to do so. Seeing that the fortune heavenly court's people were behaving strangely, as if they were plotting something in the dark, they naturally wouldn't miss this opportunity. If they could foil the other party's plan, it would naturally be a win-win situation. But if they couldn't, they had to figure out what was going on. The people from a universal truth sacred land had sensed it, and so had the people from the origin dynasty. Both parties hurried toward the fortune heavenly court. However, it would take a long time for them to reach the fortune heavenly court's territory from their lair. If one's cultivation was a bit lower, or if one traveled normally, they would need to fly for at least a few thousand years. They might even have to pass through many dangerous chasms, which would take even more time. However, this time, they were all from the origin dynasty, the mainstay of the holy land of truth. They were at least at the heavenly monarch realm, which could greatly shorten the time. Even so, it would take some time for them to rush over. It wasn't just them. In the immortal world, everyone with a bit of strength sensed the changes and swarmed over. Naturally, they didn't know that it was the 5 heavenly lords of the heavenly court who were making a move here. They thought that there was a change in the world, and that some rare treasure or treasure of heaven and earth had appeared. Therefore, they naturally want a share of the loot. For a moment, the experts of the demon race, beast race, barbarian race, and other races, the master of yin-yang, the master of yin and yang, the master of magic realm, the master of pill realm, the master of treasure realm, the master of magic realm, and other rulers of the heavenly rights mother religion. For a moment, everyone in the heaven realm moved. Rays of divine light soared into the sky from all directions. Their destination was the fortune heavenly court, where Fang Qingshan and the others were fighting. Although the heavenly lord of calamity and the others didn't sense any of this, they had expected it. They knew that as long as the aura leaked out, it would definitely attract a group of sharks. However, They didn't expect that they would break through the cover of the treasure of the 33 heavens the moment they made a move. They were caught off guard. As for Fang Qingshan and the others, their techniques were surprisingly sharp. When they clashed with them, they were only at a slight disadvantage. They didn't even suffer any light injuries. Damn it, I didn't expect them to be so impressive. Especially that Fang Qingshan's clone technique. His clone is exactly the same as his original body. The 5 Eternal Truth Realm experts exchanged glances with each other with a serious expression. What do we do now? The Slaughter Emperor secretly transmitted his voice. What else can we do? We can only use our trump cards. The heavenly secret has been broken. I'm afraid they're already on their way. If we don't hurry up, I'm afraid we'll really be in vain. The Thunder Emperor said, if that's the case, let's do it. When the 5 of them heard this, they looked at each other and nodded in unison. The 33 heavens, infinite creation, suppress the world and sweep away all obstacles. As the 5 Eternal Truth Realm experts shouted at the same time, their hands formed hand seals. In an instant, 33 balls of light turned from illusory to solid above their heads, and they expanded in the wind. There were umbrellas, sabers, swords, pagodas, bows, locks, claws. A total of 33 treasures. In particular, one of the gates was called the Ultimate Heavenly Gate. It was also the most mysterious and powerful one among them. It was the strongest divine artifact that the Fortune Heavenly King created after comprehending the gate of eternal life. It ruled over the heavens, was supreme, distorted creation, and grasped the great Tao. This treasure was not the Fortune Immortal artifact that they had used to seal the aura. Instead, it was a treasure that the 5 heavenly kings of calamity had refined after comprehending creation all these years. It had already reached the level of a saint-grade immortal artifact. Once it was taken out, its aura was connected, and it was like a vast sea of stars crushing over mightily. It was filled with the supreme majesty of creation. A saint-grade immortal artifact was equivalent to a heavenly lord, and the 33 heavens were 33 heavenly lords. In particular, these heavenly lords were not fighting individually, but in an array formation. Their power was naturally incomparable. Even if an immortal king came, he would still be able to fight back. If the Taoist doesn't come out now, when will he? Seeing that the heavenly king of calamity and the others had actually used the saint-grade immortal artifact of the 33 heavens, Fang Qingshan's expression froze, but he did not panic. He opened his mouth and shouted. Then he saw another clone walk out of his body. It was impossible for the one Qi turning Sanqing to only create 2 clones. It was just that what Fang Qingshan had obtained from the great ruler, the celestial emperor, was incomplete. It was only after he became the disciple of Laozi that he obtained the real original. However, it was much more difficult to successfully cultivate the original. Ever since Fang Qingshan obtained it, he had been trying to figure it out. But not long ago, with the help of infinite providence and primordial violet Qi, he finally comprehended it. Tao begets 1, 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, 3 begets all things. Humans follow the earth follows the heaven follows the Tao, and the Tao follows nature. As Fang Qingshan chanted, the 3 clones and the main body each took up 4 directions. The east green dragon Jia, Yi wood, the south vermilion bird Bing Ding fire, the west white tiger gung Xian metal, and the north black tortoise Ren Kuei water. This was a 4 symbols array. Of course, Fang Qingshan did not want to rely on this array formation to fight against the heavenly kings of calamity and the others. Instead, he wanted to use the 4 symbols to reverse the yin and yang and display a simplified version of the yin and yang dust sword array. Chapter 678. The yin and yang dust sword array was the array formation of Ren School, created by the Grand Pure One. It used the Tai Ching Yin-Yang Talisman, a top-notch Khanate spiritual treasure, to suppress the array core. Although it was not comparable to the 3 ultimate arrays of desolation, it was not comparable to ordinary arrays. Even a 9 Bins Yellow River array, the 10,000 Immortals array, and the 10 Ultimate array were slightly inferior to it. Once the array was activated, life and death would be in it. It could transform dust into the Desolation Continent, mountains and rivers, including the rivers or rivers, oceans and skies, birds, beasts, fish and insects during the Desolation period, and evolve the changes of the ancient Desolation world. The vicissitudes of life and death occurred in an instant. The array formation set up by Feng Qingshan did not have the Tai Ching Yin-Yang Talisman, a top-notch Khanate spiritual treasure, to suppress the array core. However, it was suppressed by the 5 Elements Spirit Pearl, and the effect was only slightly inferior. Moreover, Feng Qingshan had 3 avatars as the array foundation. Their minds were connected, and they used the 4 images to evolve the yin and yang, and then used the yin and yang to build the array formation. Although it was hastily arranged and was a shrunken version, its might was still above the 33 Heavens array formation formed by the 33 Heavens Supreme Treasures. Buzz! There was a slight tremble. In an instant, the scene of the great destruction of heaven and earth was playing out. Mountains and rivers collapsed, stars fell, space was torn, and time was destroyed. Because of the decisive opening, fate was no longer there. Earth, wind, water, and fire were playing out as if they were going to return to chaos. The heaven realm, where Feng Qingshan and the others were, was directly torn apart and separated from the heaven realm. The space-time storm swept in all directions, spreading out like a tide. There was a rumbling roar, like the roar of thousands of dragons. Retreat. Seeing this scene, Mosquito Doran's expression suddenly changed. In a flash, he came to Feng Qingshan's side and supported him. Then he pulled Xiongqi with one hand, and with a flash of bloodlight under his feet, he instantly retreated into the distance, flickering light and shadow as fast as a bird. Not only him, but the 5 heavenly lords also retreated at the same time. Unfortunately, the power of the yin and yang dust sword array and the 33 Heavens Saint-grade fairy artifact was too great and too fast. It had already exceeded their imagination. Even with their speed, they were actually caught up by the space-time storm and the space-time tide in an instant. Defend! Defend! Mosquito Doran and the 5 Lords of Heaven shouted at the same time. But Mosquito Doran raised the Mystic Essence Water Control flag above his head. Flowers fell from the sky, and dense water vapor spread to the Lotus Kingdom. It obscured the universe, covered the sky, and covered the sun, repelled all evil, and was impervious to all techniques. After all, Feng Qingshan's cultivation was a little low. Moreover, he relied on the 1 Qi-turning Sanqing divine sense to overload and cast the yin and yang dust sword formation. As a result, the Dharma power in his body was completely depleted. Even the congenital spiritual meridians in the congenital small world could not replenish it in a short time. His primordial spirit was dim and drowsy. If it weren't for Mosquito Doran being by his side, even if he wouldn't die, he would still be gravely injured by the storm tides. Although the 5 Lords of Heaven had also consumed a lot of energy, it was not to the extent that new energy had not been generated yet. Therefore, even though he was shocked by the storm tide, he did not panic. Seeing that it was impossible to dodge, the 5 of them joined hands once more and brought out the treasures of the 33 Heavens. But this time, they were not used to attack but to defend. However, they saw that the 33 supreme treasures were linked together, flickering with light and passing shadows, gradually evolving into the 33 Heavens. It was as if the heavens had descended, protecting them within. Boom! A loud sound rang out, like the alarm bell of the end of the world. The Mystic Essence Water Control flag that Mosquito Doran had raised was on the verge of collapse in just a breath's time. The Lotus Kingdom was directly swept away. Fortunately, at this time, Feng Qingshan finally came back to his senses. His heart gave a shake. A suit of armor suddenly appeared above the heads of the 3 of them. The armor was dark yellow in color, as light as a rainbow. It shone with the brilliance of the sun and the moon, overflowing with spiritual chi. Its whole body was overflowing with a sense of heaviness. The sun and the moon perished, but it did not perish. The world decayed, but it did not. Great void divine armor, a treasure that Feng Qingshan had obtained from the eternal world. Its defensive power was no less than that of the innate Five Directions flag. In particular, this item had been integrated into the timeless arc together with the passing water lamp. Activated by the Thunder Emperor, its defensive power was strong. It was not something that Mosquito Doran's Mystic Essence water control flag could compare with at all. When the storm and tide hit the Great Void divine armor, it only made a clanging sound. It was as if two metals were colliding and sparks were bursting out. It could not shake his defense at all. Although the Great Void divine armor was as thin as a rainbow, it did not even cause a ripple. As for the five heavenly lords, it was not so easy. Originally, when they clashed with Feng Qingshan, although they had the upper hand, the consumption was unimaginable. Out of 10 levels of power, only 1 or 2 levels were left. When they took out the treasures of the 33 heavens, their bodies were all hollowed out. Their faces were pale, and their primordial spirits were dim. Coupled with the impact of the storm and tide, the Saint-grade immortal artifact of the 33 heavens was on the verge of collapse. The 33 heavens that it had evolved was like a porcelain that was about to shatter. At this moment, the 5 heavenly lords gulped down all sorts of king-grade and even saint-grade immortal pills that could heal their injuries and replenish their spiritual power. In the end, they barely managed to hold on. The 5 of them looked at each other and saw the lingering fear in each other's eyes. When they looked at Feng Qingshan's side, their hearts sank to the bottom. Although they had not used the destinable immortal artifact, they could see the whole picture. Based on the current situation, they would definitely not be able to do anything to Feng Qingshan. They had not used their trump cards, but could Feng Qingshan have used it? Feng Qingshan could use the saint-grade immortal artifact of the 33 heavens, even though his cultivation was weaker than theirs. Even if he summoned the destinable immortal artifact, the final outcome would probably be a lose-lose situation for both sides. And once their strength declined, not only could they forget about seizing the timeless ark, the sacred grounds of truth, the origin dynasty, the world within a world, and the other powers that have been eyeing the fortune heavenly court would definitely attack the heavenly court like a school of sharks smelling blood. When the sandpiper and the clam fought, the fishermen would benefit. When that time came, they would bitterly regret that they had been working hard and sacrificing themselves for others. How could the wily old fox, the heavenly monarch of calamity, and the others do something so strenuous and unrewarding? Therefore, even though he was very unwilling, his rationality still prevailed. Therefore, after withstanding the storm and tide, the 5 heavenly monarchs did not attack Feng Qingshan anymore. There was no need, and the Oriole was already here. The heavenly monarch of calamity and the others had already sensed a familiar aura permeating the surroundings. That was the aura of their old rivals, the Origin Dynasty, and the others. Therefore, they could not attack anymore. I didn't expect you to grow so quickly. I really have a whole new level of respect for you. The heavenly monarch of calamity glanced around coldly and said to Feng Qingshan, "However, don't think that we can't do anything to you. Today is not the time, so I'll let you go. I want to see if you can protect the Electro-Lady Heavenly Lord, the primordial Chaos Taoist, and the Holy King of Termination's successor." After saying that, the 5 heavenly monarchs looked at each other and turned to leave without any hesitation. Chapter 679. Just as the tempest tide swept in all directions, those who were closer and had a higher level of cultivation had already arrived. It was just that the battle between Feng Qingshan and the others was too intense. Whether it was to be the Oriole or to be the fish in the moat, everyone watched from afar and did not approach. Unfortunately, even though they were so far away, they could not avoid being affected. The moment the storm tide swept out, everyone's expression changed in an instant. The next moment, everyone retreated like mosquito Daurin and the 5 heavenly lords. Even the heavenly lords from the Origin dynasty and the sacred land of truth were no exception. Although they were not as close as Feng Qingshan and the others, the Tempest Tide was too powerful. Although they were not injured, they could not help but break out in a cold sweat. As for those with low cultivation, slow speed, and no defensive treasures, they could only blame it on their bad luck. The Tempest Tide swept away all those who wanted to fish in troubled waters, but did not know their limits. Of course, there was no lack of people who would sit at home and let disaster fall from the sky. For example, the nearby living beings. If they saw that the situation was not right, they would have escaped early. However, once disaster and the others made their move, they would not be able to leave even if they wanted to. Regarding this, Feng Qingshan could only apologize in his heart. This was the world of cultivation. After all, karma was not that obvious here, and many people often performed sacred sacrifices. They could only blame themselves for not being strong enough. That was the original sin. However, none of this mattered to the heavenly lords. Although they broke out in a cold sweat because of the storm and tides, they were more concerned about Feng Qingshan and the 5 heavenly lords. They had fought so fiercely, even using destinable immortal weapons to conceal the secrets of heaven, and using sacred-grade immortal weapons, treasures of the 33 heavens. Even a 3-year-old would not believe that there was nothing fishy about it. Sure enough, the 5 heavenly lords explained the reason before they left. So it was about Mother Electro-Lady, Hong Meng Daoist, and the Holy King of Termination. At this moment, everyone couldn't help but shudder, and their gazes burned as they looked at Feng Qingshan's group. The Electro-Mother, Heavenly Monarch, was somewhat similar to the Thunder Emperor. They were both heavenly monarchs who had proven their Tao at the beginning of the primal chaos. She was a powerful woman born from lightning, and she was favored by the gate of eternal life. She cultivated the most mysterious great art of destiny, which allowed her to suppress all the heavenly monarchs. She was the leader of all the heavenly monarchs, and her cultivation base at the peak of 18 epochs was comparable to that of an immortal king. After that, he challenged the dignity of creation and summoned the gate of eternal life to shatter the creation divine artifact before falling. This was a matter that concerned the gate of immortality and the grand art of destiny. Primordial Taoist was even more remarkable. He cultivated all the 3,000 great Taos except for the great fate art. He meditated in front of the gate of eternal life for 90,000 years, an unprecedented feat. He wanted to create the primordial Hongjun Tiandao that was comparable to the great fate art, and he created the heavenly divine artifact, the primordial palace. If he disregarded his own magic treasures, his strength would be the number 1 among the immortal kings. His cultivation was unfathomable, and even the creation immortal king was deeply afraid of him. Sacred King Termination was one of the only 2 or 3 sacred kings in the god race. Although he couldn't compare to the Electro-Mother Heavenly Monarch and Primordial Taoist, he was still extraordinary. He represented the end of the god race. Back then, he even killed his way into the heavenly court alone. Although he was suppressed by the immortal king, he escaped and was sealed in Feng Baiyu's body. If he could get Feng Qingxue, Venerable Ling Long, and Feng Baiyu, especially the Electro-Mother Heavenly Monarch, if he could get the secrets of the gate of eternal life and the great fate art, then just thinking about it made him feel so excited that he couldn't control himself. Especially for those who had reached the Heavenly Monarch realm, the older they were, the more they wanted to get their hands on the Electro-Mother Heavenly Monarch and the others. They wanted to force the secrets of the gate of eternal life and the great fate art out of them. After all, they had been trapped in the Heavenly Monarch realm for too long. An old man who didn't die was a thief. As old monsters who had lived for an unknown period of time, these people were naturally shrewd. They knew that Calamity and the others might not have good intentions when they said those words before leaving. After all, they all knew the benefits of getting their hands on the Electro-Mother Heavenly Monarch and the others. The Eternal Realm and the others who made the first move were even more aware. But now they had retreated. Moreover, they had also seen the situation of the battle between the two sides. Just the aftermath alone was enough to make them tremble with fear. This showed that Fang Qingshan and the others were not easy to deal with. Although the Eternal Realm and the others did not use destinable immortal weapons, they had retreated. But the fact that they could force the Eternal Realm and the 33 Heaven Supreme Treasures to use a saint-grade immortal weapon to no avail had already explained everything. It was just that humans died in pursuit of wealth and birds died in pursuit of food. Although they knew that this was a blatant plot, they were still willing to jump into it, even though they knew it was a plot. Everyone had a wishful thinking. What if? What if they succeeded? Therefore, many people took the unconventional path and were willing to take the risk out of desperation. Moreover, they secretly thought that although Fang Qingshan was not easy to provoke, they were not easy to bully, especially when compared to the heavenly court's 5 great heavenly monarchs. They had more people. Most importantly, when Fang Qingshan fought with the 5 great heavenly monarchs earlier, they did not believe that they did not suffer any injuries. Even if they were not injured, they must have consumed a lot of energy. Take his life while he was down. Therefore, the demon, beast, and barbarian race's old ancestor, Lord of Thousand Demons, barbarian ancestor, Lord of Nian Beast, Lord of Yin Yang, Lord of Yin Yang, Lord of Fresh Blood, Lord of Reeds, Lord of Autumn Glow, Lord of Illusion, Lord of Thousand Glamour, Lord of Desolation, Lord of Terror, Lord of Floating Life, River Diagram, Sacrifice, Lord of Heavenly Monarch of the Sacred Land of Truth, Lord of Morality, Lord of Death, Lord of Desolation, Lord of Imperial Prison, Lord of Heavenly, Monarch of E. They formed a circle and slowly pressed towards Fang Qingshan and the others. Good heavens, look at the people surrounding them. There were 4 or 5 heavenly monarchs from the bigger factions and 1 or 2 from the smaller factions. There is no need to even mention the Lone Rangers. Looking over, there were actually more than half 100 of them, although this was not all the heavenly monarchs in the heaven realm. But since ancient times, there had never been such a gathering of so many experts. And this was just the heavenly monarchs. There were even more heavenly lords. Although they were not as numerous as the carps in the river, there were still hundreds and thousands of them. With so many experts, if it was an ordinary person, he or she would have already fainted from fright. However, Fang Qingshan and the others still did not have a good look on their faces. Kid, although your strength is not bad, don't do something like a mantis trying to stop a chariot or an ant trying to shake a tree. Otherwise, thousands of years of bitter cultivation will turn into ashes in an instant. By then, it will be too late to cry. The Tao Te Heaven Monarch of the Sacred Ground of Truth was like a high and mighty immortal Buddha overlooking the mortal world, and said to Fang Qingshan, "Hand over Fang Qingxue, Venerable Ling Long, and Feng Baiyu, and I can make the decision to let you go." Otherwise, although the Tao Te Heaven Monarch did not finish his words, the threat was overflowing. Fang Qingshan, Mosquito Daoran, and Xiongqi looked at each other and couldn't help but have a flash of contempt in their eyes. One must know one's own limits. Don't open your mouth and brag like a toad. The Lord of Tao and Virtue didn't expect that his good intentions would be met with Fang Qingshan's sarcasm and ridicule. He was instantly angered to the point where he was about to ascend to the heavens. Chapter 680. Fang Qingshan couldn't help but snort at the sight of the Tao, the Heavenly Lord's anger. These people were usually high and mighty, not to mention mocking and ridiculing. They could not even hear a word of rebuttal. They had always been a man of their word and always made the final decision. It was precisely because of this that they developed a self-righteous character. This was especially so for those whose cultivation was lower than his. He was acting all high and mighty, feeling extremely good about himself. It was unknown where he got his confidence from. Did he really think that cultivation could decide everything? If that was the case, How could the Electro-Mother Heavenly Lord fight against the creation immortal king? You what you? Before the Tao to Heavenly Lord could speak, Fong Qingshan continued. Who do you think you are? An immortal king? Let me go. Ask the others if they agree. Do you think you can defeat us? You're like an ant trying to shake a tree. I think you're the real arrogant one. Good, good, good. How dare you be so arrogant in the face of so many heavenly lords? I wonder if your strength is as good as your eloquence. The Tao to Heavenly Lord was so angry that he laughed. Why don't you give it a try? Fong Qingshan sneered. With that, Fong Qingshan ignored the Lord of Tao and virtue. Instead, he looked around and saw the fiery gazes of the heavenly lords who wanted to take advantage of the situation. Then he said slowly, do you think you're the only smart ones? Are the eternal calamity and the others stupid? Why do you think they gave up halfway and retreated? Why? The primordial heavenly lord of the Origin dynasty was a very good supporting character, and he casually added a sentence at the right time. Why? Fong Qingshan smiled. His voice was like gold and stone, sonorous and powerful as he replied. Naturally, it's because they don't want the sandpiper and clam to fight each other, only to be the fisherman who benefits in the end. It's also because they want to turn from passive to active. They want to retreat quietly. Now, they might be hiding in the dark, letting you be the king and the vanguard while they sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Furthermore, it's because they know that even if they use fortune immortal artifacts, they won't be able to do anything to us. Ah, what a joke. After hearing Fong Qingshan's words, the heavenly monarch of Tao and virtue felt as if he had heard the greatest joke in the world, one that he could laugh about for an entire year. Everyone was well aware of what Fong Qingshan had said about the worries of immortal monarch calamity and the others. There was nothing much to say about it. As for what Fong Qingshan said at the end, that even if he used a destinable immortal artifact, he wouldn't be able to do anything to them, the Tao to Heavenly Monarch couldn't help but laugh. He thought that Fong Qingshan was putting on a strong front and was trying to flatter himself. He could not help but say sarcastically, even a destinable celestial artifact couldn't do anything to you. Could it be that you're a celestial king in disguise? Or do you also possess a destinable celestial artifact? Ha ha ha. What are you talking about, Dowd? What if he's not just an immortal king, but a demolisher? Yes, yes, yes. Although destinable immortal artifacts are rare, it's not like they don't exist. Perhaps he has obtained something like the Khanate Door, the Door of Profundity, or the Door of Great Void. Yes, yes. His cultivation might not be that impressive, but if he's lucky, it's not impossible for him to obtain a destinable immortal artifact. After hearing what the Heavenly Lord of Tao and Virtue said, the people from the sacred land of universal truth and some of the heavenly monarchs who were on good terms with the Heavenly Lord of Tao and Virtue couldn't help but laugh along. As for the others, they did not say anything. They also treated it as a joke. Actually, they did not know that their jokes were actually close to the truth. Seeing the expressions on everyone's faces, Fong Qingshan smiled. He wondered what kind of expressions they would have after seeing the timeless Arkansas. Actually, the heavenly monarch of disaster and the others did indeed have the same goal that Fong Qingshan had mentioned earlier. On one hand, they did not want to be the Oriole, but on the other hand, they were unwilling to accept it. They wanted to be the Oriole themselves, and, at the same time, they wanted to trick the people from the sacred land of universal truth. They knew that Fong Qingshan had the timeless ark, but they did not say it out loud. Instead, they threw out the Electro-Mother Heavenly Monarch and the others as bait. They wanted to lure the Heavenly Monarch of Tao and the others into attacking Fong Qingshan. When that time came, Fong Qingshan would inevitably have to use the timeless Arkansas. If they really fought and both sides were injured, the eternal truth and the others would naturally be able to reap the benefits. However, with regards to this situation, after seeing Fong Qingshan's true strength, they also knew that the chances were slim. However, even if they could not achieve this goal, they could still trick the Dowda and the others. They could be considered to have achieved their goal. Unfortunately, Fong Qingshan did not want to let them get what they wanted. Even with the eternal heavenly vessel, Fang Qingshan would be able to protect himself. However, if he were to offend too many people, he might end up being ganged up on. Even with the eternal heavenly vessel, Fang Qingshan would not have a good time. Therefore, he did not wait for the Dao and the others to make a move. Instead, he took out the nuclear weapon first to threaten them. Buzz! The void trembled, and everyone felt as if their hearts were being squeezed. Suddenly, they felt as if they were carrying the blue sky on their backs. Following that, they saw a 10,000-foot-long timeless arc appear out of thin air, suppressing all directions. It was bright yellow and crystal clear, and a grand chanting of scriptures sounded as if an ancient god was expounding on eternity. An indescribable aura spread in all directions. It could not be seen, heard, or touched, but it had an aura of immortality and transcendence. Following that, a divine light descended from the timeless arc and deterred Fang Qingshan and the others. The heavenly Lord of Tao and the others originally wanted to say something, but they felt their bodies sink, and even breathing became a little difficult. Somehow, a sense of danger descended. Everyone instantly tensed up, and it would be best if they were prepared to strike at any time. However, when they saw the timeless arc descend, everyone was dumbfounded and could not say a word for a long time. A supreme treasure of fortune. After a long time, someone finally uttered these 4 words hoarsely. The wind blew, stirring up a pool of spring water. Everyone came back to their senses, and suddenly there was a hubbub. How is this possible? He actually has a supreme treasure of fortune in his hands. No wonder the eternal realm and the others hid the secrets of heaven and used the supreme treasure of the 33 heavens. I originally thought that their target was the Electro-Lady Heavenly Lord and felt that they were making a fuss over a minor issue. So it turns out that they are after the supreme treasure of fortune. Yes, it's just that this supreme treasure of fortune is a little unfamiliar. It's not a known supreme treasure of fortune. It was not just the others who were shocked. Even the eternal realm and slaughter, who had not seen the timeless arc before, were very shocked. At the same time, it was even more regrettable that they had missed a great opportunity. Although they wanted to continue attacking, they knew that it was just a waste of effort and effort. Ever since Fang Qingshan revealed the timeless arc, although it attracted more attention, without a complete plan, no one would act rashly again. After all, the power of a supreme treasure of fortune was not something that a heavenly lord could contend with unless an immortal king appeared, and there was no supreme treasure of fortune. Chapter 681. 5 Elements Sect. This name had recently spread like wildfire in the heaven realm, and it was like thunder piercing the ears. They lived under the same roof as the Fortune Heavenly Court, but they had taken over 1/10 of the Heavenly Court's territory. If it was any other force, even if it was the Universal Truth Sacred Land or the Origin Dynasty, they would probably not be able to do so. Because if they dared to do so, the Heavenly Court would definitely fight them to the death. However, the 5 Elements sect had accomplished something that almost no one else could do. All of this naturally started from the first world-shaking war after the ancient times. Fang Qingshan, Mosquito Daorin, Qiongqi, and the others could actually fight against the 5 ancient heavenly lords of the Heaven Court with their half-step heavenly lords. This was especially true for Fang Qingshan. His doppelganger technique, which allowed him to create 3 doppelgangers that were exactly the same as his original body. It was truly a feat that surpassed the ancients and dazzled the contemporaries. If that was the case, then so be it. He was just a little stronger. Since ancient times, countless people with special abilities had relied on their cultivation to dominate the world, but in the end, they were killed by the Heavenly Court with lightning speed. After all, that was the foundation left behind by the Fortune Immortal King, the Heavenly Court that possessed a Fortune Immortal artifact. However, this time, the rise of Fang Qingshan and the 5 Elements sect was not suppressed on the surface. The reason for this was naturally because they also had a destinable celestial artifact. Moreover, it was not a damaged one like the precious treasures of the 33 heavens, but a complete one. Therefore, they had to be cautious. Whether it was the heavenly court or the other forces, although they coveted the timeless ark, although they wanted to capture the reincarnated body of the Electro Lady, the primordial Taoist, the successor of the Holy King of Termination, the primordial Taoist. But no one made a move. The bird that sticks out gets shot. If it wasn't for the fact that their foundations were too weak, Fang Qingshan and the Five Elements sect would probably be comparable to the Origin dynasty, the sacred ground of truth, and the Fortune Heavenly Court. After all, Fang Qingshan, Mosquito Dowrin, and Xiongqi were equivalent to 5 Lords of Heaven, and they were ancient Lords of Heaven who were similar to disasters. Not to mention the Fortune Divine artifact, the Eternal Heavenly Ship. Of course, this was just their presumptuous opinion. On the surface, the Five Elements sect indeed didn't have enough resources. However, Fang Qingshan's timeless ark wasn't just an offensive weapon. Not to mention the others, just the blood, beast, and sail units were filled with experts. Not to mention the Tao soldiers that the Eternal Army Camp nurtured. Of course, under normal circumstances, Fang Qingshan would not use it. Even if they were going to use it, they wouldn't do it in a big way, because it wouldn't be good for the Five Elements sect. As for the reason why the heavenly courts were indifferent to Fang Qingshan and the others occupying 1/10 of the territory, other than their own strength, it was also because this piece of land was obtained by them by moving mountains and filling seas, changing the world. The place where Fang Qingshan and the others had established their sect was the place where they had fought earlier. The yin and yang dust sword formation collided with the Saint-grade fairy weapon of the 33 heavens, directly destroying this part of the world. Fang Qingshan and the others used their great magic power to transform the mountains and rivers, and only then did the celestial realm reappear. Although Fang Qingshan and the others had offended the Fortune Heavenly Court upon ascending, and even attracted the attention of the great half-world's forces, they suppressed them both openly and covertly. However, because of their powerful forces and the Fortune Divine artifact, there were still many people who flocked to the Five Elements sect. Additionally, due to the secret suppression from the Fortune Heavenly Court and the others, those with weak wills were eliminated. Thus, Five Elements sect slowly gained a foothold in the celestial realms. After making arrangements for the members of the Fang family and the Five Elements sect, Fang Qingshan began to consider his own matters. This time, even though he had advanced by leaps and bounds, he had also used up all of his foundation. It was not just his cultivation base and cultivation base. More, it was resources. Thus, it would be even more difficult for him to make any further progress, unless he encountered the battlefield of gods and demons in eternal world and faced the great tribulation of eternal life. Aside from the mountain and sea of resources, he also had the favor of the world and the blessing of fortune. The resources in the celestial realms were not something that the lower realms could hope to match. Even profound Origin world was no match for them. Here, void immortals and true immortals were like slaves. Even the ordinary monsters in a random mountain range were as strong as true immortals. The spiritual energy there was 100 times higher than that of the lower realms. While there was no shortage of natural treasures, there were many spiritual herbs recorded in the ancient Tao scriptures. However, to Fang Qingshan, these resources were not of much use at all. After he and Mosquito Dowrin reached the gold immortal stage, the amount of resources they wanted was not limited to the mountain and sea of resources. They also wanted the quality of the resources. Relying on quantity alone would be an immeasurable problem. For Mosquito Dowrin, low-grade immortal artifacts were just snacks. Only peerless immortal artifacts could be considered as meals, albeit barely. Ordinary resources were still manageable. Once they reached the higher levels, however, they would not be as common as cabbages even in the immortal plane. They were either in the various danger zones or in the hands of the various great forces. The various great forces were one thing, but given the current situation, Fang Qingshan could not even go to the various danger zones. It was not that he did not want to. Rather, he could not, exposing the timeless arc, Electro-Mother, heavenly monarch, primordial Taoist, and holy king of termination. Due to the strength of Fang Qingshan and the others, those people had not dared to test the waters and had wanted others to make the first move. However, this did not mean that Fang Qingshan and the others could sit back and relax. They had not made a move yet, but they had been watching closely. If Fang Qingshan and the others were to make too big of a move, they might provoke a group of people to attack them. If that really happened, even with the timeless arc, it would be troublesome for Fang Qingshan. Therefore, for now, it was better to stay still. However, if he did not go out to search for treasures and opportunities and only relied on meditation to increase his cultivation base, he would have to rely on painstaking effort. Fang Qingshan was equally unwilling to accept such a situation. Therefore, there were only two paths in front of him now. One was to use the universal chessboard to transmigrate again. The other was to use the timeless arc to reopen the ruins market. This time, Fang Qingshan's cultivation base had not only risen by leaps and bounds during the great tribulation of heaven and origin, he had also obtained a considerable amount of luck. The universal chessboard had added 3 more restrictive arrays. At the same time, a new world had been opened up. It was the journey to the west. At present, Fang Qingshan had to consider whether to open the ruins market first or to transmigrate to the journey to the west. He could also consider opening the ruins market during the journey to the west. Forget it. Let's open the ruins market first. After considering it, Fang Qingshan decided to open the ruins market in the end. He had already opened it once in Eternal World, and the results were quite good. However, it was just a trial run. Additionally, it was too limited. It simply could not bring out the true effect of the timeless Arc Ruins market. Additionally, it was unknown if it was due to the fact that Eternal World was still in a sealed state. But after Fang Qingshan left Eternal World, the ruins market remained closed, and the cultivators from Eternal World could no longer enter. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.